If you've ever been driving behind somebody with a bunch of snow luggage on top of their car, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks. And PSA out there, snow luggage is dangerous. That ice and snow can easily slide off the roof of your car and into other cars behind you, causing a hazard. Make sure you clean off your car if you live in a snowy area, folks. Welcome back to another episode of Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook. Today is going to be the Tuesday, February 3rd edition. We've got more stuff to go through. We've got more earnings to go through. We've got a bounce in some of the metals. And what on earth is going on with PayPal? I mean, wow. We're going to talk about all of that here today. We're going to get you all set for the open. We've got Anne Marie today. It's a T3 Tuesday. We got a bunch of stuff to do. We're going to have a great time. Great to see a whole bunch of returning faces. Again, Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook, the Tuesday edition for February 3rd, 2026, begins right now. Good morning and welcome back, folks. It's great to see a whole bunch of returning faces out there. I hope that you all had a great rest of your Monday. We made it to Tuesday and we are trucking through the week here. More earnings going on and just more stuff to take care of. And we're going to do all of that here today. Great to see a whole bunch of returning faces. Crimp Biscuit, good morning. Welcome back. You are first here today. Early bird gets the worm for Crimp Biscuit. Richard Judge, good morning. Welcome back. Keep sending that positivity into the universe, boss. You're the best. Yes, that girl. Good morning. Welcome back. Big Dave. Good morning. Welcome back. Brian. Good morning. Welcome back. James. Good to see you again. PayPal getting crushed down 15%. Indeed. PayPal 44 handle. No bounce in the pre-market. The stock, man. I tell you what. I am glad we gave up on trying to take that long because, man, oh man, that thing keeps pounding the lows. Zach McCracken says good morning, even though it's the afternoon for him. Welcome, Zach. It's good to see you again. Astro Kev, good morning. Welcome back. Wisdom, it's 2:30 in the morning for Wisdom. Oh my gosh, Wisdom. Do you sleep? Do you sleep? Are you like a vampire where you sleep during the day? Just absolutely incredible. Robert, good morning. Welcome back. Who else we got here? Brett, good morning. It's great to see you again, Brett. Jim, welcome back. Man, Wisdom, you are. Howard, do you have this much energy at 2 o'clock in the morning, at 2:30 in the morning? Good Lord. Ezra, good morning. Welcome back. The producer's locked in, making sure the show goes off without a hitch, which we appreciate. Billy, good morning. It's good to see you again. Wisdom is still going off. This is absolutely incredible. Brett says coffee is hot, and so is the wood stove. All set to go here. That sounds awesome. Let's get it going. Sam, good morning. Anyone else plan on boarding the MU gravy train? I'm going to be taking a look at those stocks, but I don't necessarily have a plan for that. I am kind of looking at AGQ here today, just in case we continue to get a bounce in the metals. AGQ might actually make for a pretty good short-term day trade here. But let us, if anyone else is looking for Micron trades, let's talk about it. It's been a great trader for us recently, no doubt. Castle, good morning. Good to see you again. Marty, good morning. The only other show I used to wake up this early for was Superman in black and white in the 60s. Marty, I'll take that as a badge of honor for sure. Those classic TV shows, something else. Glad you're here. Glad you're waking up early. Glad you're making some money. That's good stuff. Tyler, good morning. Welcome back. Best Life, good morning. Welcome back. It's good to see you again. Tyler, good morning. Welcome back. Bernhard, good morning. Welcome back. Day Traders locked in. Good morning and welcome back. Neville, good morning. Hoot, good morning. Graf, good morning. Lambo Rolls, good morning. Tom, good morning. Kenneth, good morning. Yassine, good morning. It's going to be 71 here today. I don't even know what snow luggage is. Well, I'm glad you're safe and don't have to deal with that because honestly, it can be very well be dangerous. But it's all that snow that sits on top of a car that people neglect to clean off. That when the car heats up, it freezes and then slides off the car in the middle of traffic. That's what snow luggage is. I guess that's a term that was coined here in Chicago, but I digress. JJ, good morning. Welcome back. Dirkus, good morning. Welcome back. Johnny, it's good to see you again as well. Welcome back. Buffalo by Bicycle, good morning. Bart, good morning. Big Bees, good morning. Von Rivera, good morning. I think of Ron Rivera every time I see your name. It's wild. Lion, good morning. Oh, Big Bees, we got a new name. Pain Pal. Big Bees, I'm actually disappointed that I didn't come up with that myself. This is S tier. Nickname for a stock. Absolutely awesome. Pain Pal is what we're calling it going forward. Smita, good morning. Welcome back. Navy Dave, good morning. Welcome back. Thank you for your service, Navy Dave. Suprick, good morning. Welcome back. Jane, it's good to see you again. Joe, welcome back. Cam, welcome back. The Veggie Girl, welcome back. Gladys, welcome back. Robot to Trade, good morning. Ed, good morning. Reaching Financial Freedom, good morning. And Cam, good morning. Yeah, the snow luggage can cause some windshield disasters. And if you've never had a windshield disaster, just consider yourself lucky. I one time had a hood pop open while I was driving and spiderwebbed the windshield and I couldn't see anything while I was on the road. That was absolutely terrifying. So I hope nobody has to go through that. Nonetheless, let's go ahead and get started with our stock market today. All right, futures in the green here ahead of Tuesday's open. S&P futures up by 0.24%. Dow futures actually flat now, unchanged, and the NASDAQ up 0.55%. Let's take a look at some cues from last session. Let me go ahead and share that here. Sorry about that. Consumer staples, industrials, and financial stocks led the S&P 500's majority of gains on Monday, while utilities and energy stocks diverged to close lower. Gold and silver staged a rebound from Monday's lows. However, Bitcoin was still trading below the 80K per coin mark. And a quick peek at the futures market here today, it is still beneath that. Futures here have Bitcoin at 78,000 and change. Meanwhile, the federal government entered a partial shutdown on Saturday, which will affect the release of economic data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The House is set to vote on a crucial funding bill on Tuesday, but the bill's passage remains unclear due to a lack of support from both Democrats and some Republicans. Additionally, on Monday, President Trump announced a major U.S.-India trade agreement with Prime Minister Narendra Modi that lowers reciprocal tariffs on the South Asian nation from 25% to 18%. The 10-year Treasury bond yielded 4.29%, and the 2-year bond was at 3.58%. The CME Group's Fed Watch Tool projections show that the market is now pricing in a 91% likelihood that the Fed holds rates steady at the March meeting. So that was 85% the last time, 85 and change, the last time we took a reading. Now it's actually gone up to 91. This is exactly what we saw ahead of the last meeting. We have several stocks in focus here for you today. The first one's going to be probably the big one of the day. It's Palantir. Ticker is PLTR, and it jumped 10.84% in the pre-market on Tuesday after reporting better than expected fourth quarter financial results and issuing full year 26 sales guidance above estimates. This was an explosive report. They absolutely crushed it. Alex Karp, who's used explosive language on the calls before, did that again, calling the company an N of one. Just an absolutely masterclass here for Palantir. The interesting note about the trading activity is when the number first came out, the stock popped right to the 200-day and sat there for a little bit before finally taking the next leg higher. So we'll see if it pushes away from that moving average here today or if it even backtests that. The next stock on our list is going to be Teradyne, and the ticker here is TER. It surged 22.23% after its fourth quarter earnings report, beating estimates on the top and bottom lines. It sees first quarter adjusted EPS between 189 to 225 versus the 124 analyst estimate. Big beat there. And revenue in the range of 1.15 billion to 1.25 billion. That was versus the 927 million estimate. Just an absolutely great report for Teradyne, ticker TER. The next stock on our list here is going to be Advanced Micro Devices, and the ticker on this one is AMD. Shares rose 2.33% ahead of its earnings scheduled to be released after the closing bell here today. Analysts are expecting earnings of $132 per share on revenue of $9.67 billion. SanDisk is the next stock on our list. That ticker is SNDK. That gained 4.24%, continuing to surge following its blockbuster earnings last week. In addition to the impressive results, it provided optimistic guidance for the third quarter, projecting adjusted earnings per share between $12 and $14 compared to the consensus of $3.63. So a huge beat there on adjusted earnings per share. The last stock on our list here is going to be Pepsi. That's ticker PEP, and it was 1.11% lower ahead of its earnings scheduled to be released before the opening bell. We've since got those earnings. Analysts were expecting $2.24 per share on revenue of $28.97 billion. Pepsi did $2.26, which beat that $2.24 estimate. And the sales were $29.34 billion, which beat the $28.97 billion estimate. Pepsi also sees full year 26 adjusted EPS of $8.55 to $8.71. That was versus the $8.55 estimate, so that's going to be higher than the actual estimate. Pepsi sees full year 26 sales of $97.68 to $99.56 billion. That's versus the $97 billion estimate. And we had some more news out of Pepsi as well. Pepsi plans to cut prices by up to 15% on snacks like Lay's and Cheetos due to customer complaints about high costs. All right, let's take a look at the SPY chart and let's get one administrative note out of the way. Let me see if I can pull this up. Let's see if Thinkorswim has it corrected. Nope, sure doesn't. So a lot of you might be waking up this morning and you might be looking at your SPY chart and you might be looking at something like this that has this absolutely ridiculous candle that is completely skewing the chart. And I thought at first this was just part of our, I know we had been making some changes here to the quoting system here at Benzinga. I thought that this was just because of some of the improvements that we're making. And when I looked in my broker, I noticed the exact same thing. And then I checked out FinTwit and I was like, oh, there were a lot of people complaining that their charting software actually had this print that drew this candle, which messes everything up. So if you're seeing something like this here today, you are not alone. It is not your data feed. It was simply some rogue trade. I don't even know if it got filled or if it got broke by the market makers or whatever, but let's just ignore that for right now. So what I've done here is I'm looking at the SPY and it sure looks to me like we are going to try 700 today. Perhaps we break above this trend line that has connected all of our recent all-time highs here. We haven't really had the volume to push us through this level yet. I'm unsure if we're going to get that here today. Let's see how some of these bigger names trade on the back of the Palantir earnings or the anticipation for some of the AMD earnings. But it sure looks to me like the SPY's bias here is to the upside. It at the very least wants to test some of those upside levels before it shows the makings of a pullback here. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it gets rejected and we pull back a little early, but the little guy inside the gut there says, yeah, we're probably going to try and break higher at least one more time before we have a meaningful correction. So I'd be looking at, as far as key levels here, I'd really be looking at the all-time high here. This is going to be 697.84. We're currently at 697.39 here in the pre-market, and we've traded up off of the pre-market lows. So if this continues through the open or we get a pop through the open, it's quite possible that the SPY trades up here. If it's anything like yesterday, we are finally going to trade above that $700 level. Downside here, levels are actually pretty clear. We're just going to look at the moving averages that we have. The 20 days at 691.59 and the 50 day is at 685.17. Okay. You guys also wanted to take a look at PayPal. Why don't we do that here real quick? Then we'll take a look at some insights from analysts. Start with the chart here. And I mean, let me reset this because I don't think this one has a broken candle. There we go. Here's what your PayPal chart looks like. Now, there was a lot of talk on this show, and by me in particular, about this sideways area saying, you know, eventually we're going to break out of this area. We're either going to break out or we're going to break down. My bias was to the upside because I actually use the product and I do like the product. The stock, however, man, it's no bueno. We, in fact, did not break up. In fact, all of the attempts that we've made to try and get above the 75 line failed miserably, mind you. And now it looks like we've kind of leaked down. We continued to leak. We stayed under the 20-day. It was as clear as day. We couldn't break the 20-day. That was clearly driving us down. And now we get the report. We're down 18% here in the pre-market, 42 handle here on PayPal. It just continues to get pounded. PayPal Q4 adjusted EPS 123 misses the 128 estimate, and sales of 8.67 billion missed the 8.8 billion estimate. Here we go. PayPal Q1 adjusted EPS year over year decline in the mid-single digits. Full year 26 adjusted EPS low single digit decline to slightly positive. They also have a new CEO. So PayPal names Enrique Lor as CEO, David Dorman as independent board chair, and says, while some progress was made in several areas over the last 2 years, the pace of change and execution was not in line with the board's expectations. So now we have, and then Matthew here saying 1% growth is horrible. Matthew also saying this is going to go to 38. So Matthew, I'm not even going to dispute that with you. The stock's already down 18%. So a move to 38 would make this thing over 20% to the downside, which we've seen before. Totally possible, right? Totally possible. Not going to dispute that at all. The one question that I have here for the group is, at what point does this stock become a buy? Is it going to be the chart that tells us that? I mean, I'm looking at the chart here and I don't have data back past 2018 and we are below all of those areas here. Is it the chart that's going to tell us this? Are we going to see a slew of re-ratings or price target slashes where on a day where the stock finally doesn't move down anymore? Where's the entry to PayPal long? As of right now, I don't see it. Matthew, you let me know. What do you think there at 38? If PayPal moves down to 38 and holds it, are you a buyer there for the long side, or is this thing just so toxic that you'd rather just stay away? Wisdom says Pain Pal 34. Big B's, I apologize for already forgetting your amazing nickname. Pain Pal. That's what we'll refer to it as here today. Not a good report. If you guys were short this, congratulations. This is probably a massive, massive payday for you. Let's see. What were the options implying on this print here? Don't think I don't have that in here. Let me see if it's being calculated in our calendar real quick. Implied move. No, I'm not getting the calculation data for it. So I think if I recall correctly, and I'm going off of yesterday, I think the options price somewhere between an 8 to a 10% move, and we're seeing an 18% move to the downside. Pain Pal, No bueno. Definitely want to hear trading ideas. We can even ask Anne Marie about this now when we have her segment on here today. So PayPal, really, really rough morning. We'll see how that shakes out. Now, in the meantime, let's take a look at some insights from analysts here. LPL Financial anticipates that 2026 will be defined as a policy-driven market regime where fiscal and monetary decisions, rather than traditional business cycles, steer the market direction. While the company is expected to while the economy is expected to experience a modest slowdown in early 2026, LPL predicts a rebound later in the year, steering clear of a full-blown recession. That's consistent across the board with what we've heard from other analysts as well. Regarding the stock market, LPL forecasts the bull market will likely extend its run, targeting a fair value range for the S&P 500 between 7,300 and 7,400. I think we had several 7,500 targets by the end of the year. I know Goldman Sachs moved theirs. I can't remember what it's at now, but it was around 7,500. So this also tracks. This growth is expected to be fueled by an ongoing enthusiasm around artificial intelligence. We'll see how SpaceX and XAI play into that. More on that here in a bit. And continued Federal Reserve rate cuts. However, they caution that high valuations means gains may be more tempered than previous years. On market drivers in 2026, volatility will continue. We've been hearing that over and over. Encouragingly, we anticipate that policy will provide supportive conditions for the market, particularly in the second half of the year. On strategy, monetary decision makers should continue to engage in easing policy as economic conditions downshift and inflation remains contained. On investor behavior, LPL research emphasizes that patience is essential. You know I love hearing that. I would reiterate that, to avoid overreacting to the sharp price fluctuations typical of a momentum-driven market. So good advice there from LPL, if you ask me. As far as the data here today, December's job opening data will be delayed due to the partial shutdown, and January's ISM services will be released at 10. Additionally, January's S&P final U.S. services PMI data will be out at 9:45 here this morning. Okay, let's talk about Palantir. What we'll do is start with the chart. Since we did that with PayPal, we'll do the same thing here with Palantir. Much different story here on Palantir. Looking at the day chart, you can see where we were going prior to this print. It actually looked like Palantir had kind of topped, dare I say. If you draw a line across the top, you had kind of like this janky, maybe makeshift double top. It looks like it was kind of trying to roll over. We did lose the 200-day. We had several candles here with increased selling volume going into the print. And then Palantir reported. And today, here we are, plus 11%. 164 is what we're looking at. You can see, as far as the key level here today, I definitely think that we're going to have a battle here at 168.5 if we have the strength to trade up there. So if the market does try to go for 700 right out of the open here, which I could totally see, I would imagine Palantir would try and extend these gains a little bit. To me, it sure seems like this 20-day moving average is the next line in the sand. We're going to have to either clear this out or perhaps we get rejected right there, and then maybe even back test the 200-day down here at 159.53. So I'll tell you what, if we do not have the strength to get above the 20 here today and we back test the 200-day and hold it, that might actually make for a long-term, or not a long-term, a long side swing trade, maybe more than just a day trade. Okay, now let's talk about Palantir here. First of all, I've got an article here that does a really good job breaking down all of the earnings and all of the different key points for the earnings. But instead of reading all of those numbers and blowing you guys away with that, I'm just going to link that story here in the chat so you can kind of keep it as a reference or go over it yourself. Instead, I want to focus on some of the other things that came out of this report. It'll be just much cleaner, much nicer, and much easier to understand this way. Palantir has fundamentally shifted the enterprise software landscape following a historic fourth quarter earnings report that saw the company nearly double its forward-looking guidance for 2026. This pushed the stock's growth score up to the top decile of Benzinga's edge rankings. So just a huge move here for Palantir. Driven by a, quote, unprecedented acceleration in AI adoption, the company also reported a rule of 40 score of 127. We've talked about this rule of 40 score several times on previous prints. We talked about how amazing it was that it had a rule of 40 score in the 90 handle the last time. Now that's up to 127. This is a metric that combines growth and profitability to signify elite operational health. Elite operational health. The company's growth metric, as per Benzinga Edge, now sits at a percentile rank of 92.15. The score reflects Palantir's combined historical expansion in revenue and earnings with a heavy emphasis on its recent performance. In the fourth quarter alone, total revenue surged 70% year over year to $1.41 billion. That's fueled largely by a 137% explosion in U.S. commercial revenue. CEO Alex Karp described the company as an N of one, claiming Palantir stands alone in its ability to scale the operational leverage made possible by the advancements in AI. So I know we've talked a lot about AI here today, or not today, but just on the show, and about how useful is this. I know a lot of you folks are kind of really waiting for some of that medical biotech results. Is AI going to help cancer detection early and save lives and all of that? And I think there's going to be a lot of that here. But very, very clearly, AI is absolutely benefiting Palantir, and the U.S. is relying on that, and we are in a position of strength because of that. Additionally, the AI revolution is manifesting in high dollar commitments, with Palantir closing 61 deals worth over $10 million in the fourth quarter. I'm telling you, just an absolute monster. While the quarterly results were record-breaking, the primary catalyst for the stock's momentum is its aggressive 2026 outlook. Palantir guided full-year 2026 revenue of $7.18 billion and $7.2 billion, effectively doubling the previous internal trajectories and crushing analyst estimates of $6.21 billion. This forward-looking conviction is mirrored in the stock's momentum ranking of 83.72. That's actually jumped up by 10 percentile points, indicating strong relative price against the broader market. Shares of Palantir had declined 11.97 year to date and 15.9% over the past month. But as we just saw, they are up 11% here this morning, and there might be some more room to grow there. There was one other thing here. There was one other thing here. I wanted to note it here, but I lost it. There was some talk here about how here we go. I'll just share this here real quick. U.S. revenue grew 75% year over year to $3.32 billion. Commercial revenue grew 109% year over year, and government revenue grew 55% year over year. They actually said that they're doing less selling to foreign countries because the U.S. is spending so much with them. Just incredible here. Palantir continues to get it done. A huge, huge pop after these earnings. All right. Next thing here. This is the data center in the sky. The SpaceX and XAI, which are now one company. This is without a doubt, in my opinion, going to be the biggest IPO of the year. $1.25 trillion valuation at IPO. It's going to be absolutely crazy. I can't wait to see how the market responds to all of this. Investor Gene Munster of Deepwater Asset Management says that billionaire Elon Musk's orbital data center ambition is a focal point of the SpaceX XAI merger. In a video shared on social media on platform X on Monday, following the merger's announcement, Munster said that the most important vector for the merger was data centers in the sky. He added that space-based data centers benefit from having better access to solar energy and do not need cooling, making them much more efficient. Now, he left out the entire part of building or getting a gigantic building into the sky. It'd be very interesting to see how this ends up rolling out. I do understand, though, the solar efficiency in orbit would be incredible, and obviously the cooling's done for you. It's just kind of natural. This is going to be fun to see how this gets rolled out. Quote, the second advantage is that there's no boundaries, like a terrestrial boundary, end quote. He goes on to say he outlines Starlink's role in providing internet access in Iran as well as Ukraine. Data centers with no boundaries have a similar appeal to it, he said, sharing that space-based data centers could be free from geopolitical headwinds. That would make a lot of folks really happy, although we'll see if it ends up playing out like that. Munster called SpaceX the best company to put objects into space and hailed XAI as the best company in terms of scaling up data centers. He shared that XAI's Colossus data center has 200,000 NVIDIA GPUs, adding that it has a lot of muscle when it comes to building data centers. Speaking about the financials, Munster highlighted SpaceX's IPO, which will reportedly take place in June this year, could give Musk flexibility to fund AI developments for XAI. He then shared that the merger also helps Musk's ambitions to build the most valuable company on Earth, which no other company can target. Quote, the target is basically NVIDIA. That's about 4.5 trillion, end quote. Munster then shared that the SpaceX XAI entity could be valued at around 1.2 trillion. Quote, I guess we'll have to come up with a new acronym for the Mag 7 here when SpaceX XAI enters the fold, end quote. So really quickly, does anyone have any early ideas on what we call the Mag 7 plus SpaceX XAI? I'd love to, the best idea gets a, I don't know, bonus points for me. Let me hear if you have any really good ideas for acronyms for the Mag 7 plus SpaceX. Someone cried in Ross Gerber's Cheerios again. Investor Ross Gerber, who was the co-founder of investment firm Gerber Kawasaki, has questioned Musk's strategy of having his companies merge. Gerber questioned the sustainability of such a strategy, implying that XAI merged with SpaceX due to cash problems. XAI had earlier reported a loss of $1.46 billion during the third quarter of 2025, spending approximately $7.8 billion during the first 9 months of the year. Startup generated $107 million in revenue during Q3. It's worth noting that reports also speculate that Musk could be eyeing a possible merger between SpaceX and Tesla, with the billionaire's cryptic post from last year possibly hinting at such an event when Musk spoke about convergence of his enterprises. So you folks will have to let me know. I'm definitely excited for this. I don't know how to get in on that IPO. Frankly, I don't think you're going to be able to. But nonetheless, that will definitely be one to trade. And you can bet your bottom dollar we will cover that here when the time comes. Okay. Just kind of continuing on this theme. A couple more things here. He said... Elon Musk said that combining SpaceX's rockets and satellite networks with XAI's Grok chatbot and AI models marks not just the next chapter, but the next book in his company's shared mission to expand intelligence beyond Earth. The transaction values SpaceX at about 1 trillion and XAI at roughly 250 billion. That's where you get the 1.25 trillion figure for. The previous record stood for more than 2 decades, dating back to Vodafone's $203 billion takeover of Germany's Mannesmann in 2000. Citing the report noted, citing LSEG data. Following the deal, the combined SpaceX XAI entity is expected to price around $527 per share. That was from one source. We'll see if it ends up getting that much. All right, where did? Come on, dude, come on. SpaceX was last valued at around $800 billion, and an insider share sale. XAI was valued at $230 billion late last year. The merger comes as SpaceX prepares for a potential public offering later this year that could value the company at more than $1.5 trillion. The deal further tightens Musk's interconnected business empire, often dubbed the Muskonomy. I'm not going to use that, just letting you know right now, which already includes Tesla, Neuralink, and the Boring Company, and social media platform X, which has merged into XAI last year. According to the Bloomberg Billionaire Index, Musk currently has a net worth of $670 billion, making him the richest person on Earth. So just... I'm really excited about this. I want to see how this thing trades. I'm very curious to see how you folks end up trading this. I think there's going to be a lot of fireworks with this one. I think it's going to be extremely fun. All right, folks, it's a T3 Tuesday. That means we've got a guest here from T3, and I got an extra special surprise for you here today. We have a new T3 trader here. Let's give a warm Benzinga's pre-market playbook welcome to Keith Chinnock. Let's bring him on.
Hello, good morning, welcome. How are you doing, Ryan?
Keith, good morning. Look, it might not be morning for you. You're in the UK here, which is absolutely fantastic. Thanks for joining us. Really to have you on. Before we get started here, trade futures with Keith for free inside the Future Zone trading virtual trading floor, excuse me. That is February 19th through the 13th. You can scan the QR code on the screen. We will drop the link for you in the chat as well. Keith, how you doing? Thanks for joining us.
Awesome. I'm good. Thank you so much. It's obviously, yeah, it's lunchtime for me, isn't it? So second phase of the day. I've done my morning stuff, and now I'm going to start my room in an hour, nearly an hour, and off we go again for the day.
Okay, this is actually perfect because I don't know if you know, but our viewership here is international. We have several people trading from different parts of Europe. So I'm extremely excited about this because we haven't had a T3 guest that's in this situation. So as I do with all new T3 guests here, I want to know what your morning routine is. Now, it sounds to me like you might have multiple routines because you're starting in the afternoon, but can you tell the group how you prepare for the day?
For sure. As we said yesterday, it's a bit special, a bit strange because I trade the US markets. So I get up, I'm an early riser over here in Europe anyway. I get up nice and early, like 5:30, 6 o'clock. I'd like to do some meditation, bit of sport to keep myself fit, and then maybe just write down a bit of journaling and, ideas for the day before my lovely children get up. And then I've got 5 children, so it's a lot of work to get breakfast ready.
Oh, I bet.
And so I do the cooking in the mornings. I get breakfast. We do eggs and get them avocado and some healthy stuff for healthy people. But at the same time, I also trade the DAX because that's my local, for me, for fun. So I trade the DAX already from 8 to 9:30 while I'm doing breakfast, have a little listen. I ship them all off and have a nice hour, finish the hour. So by 8:30, they've gone. That's phase one. So I'll get 8:30 to 9:30. I'm on the DAX. Right, good. Then I do whatever I need to do. And then I go to phase 2, prep for the US market. So once again, I go through my routine. I like to do, first of all, before I actually sit down, I come in my office. I like everything to be just as it should be. Get in the zone, just take a minute or so just to focus, get back in it. Whatever's happened in the morning, just get rid of it, get ready, just get in the same zone every day. And I go through my routine. I got a friend of mine I've been working with for like 3 or 4 years now. We do this every day together for accountability, to question each other, to check in, make sure the charts are up to date and everything. So I've got a real good buddy that I do this with. And we go through all the time frames every day. What's the picture? What's the story? Where's it going? So obviously the big moves, we've already looked at the big moves for the upcoming days and weeks, potentially. We just, what happened yesterday? So we check the daily, what actually happened. Is it what we thought? Review what happened yesterday. And then we go down all the different time frames through the 4 hour, the 1 hour, 30 minute, 15, and finally get to the 5 minute. And I set targets up for the room for the day. While I'm doing it, the room can see what I'm doing. So if the early birds are up, they can, depending on which coast you're on, the East Coasters can get up a little bit early and watch my prep, and they can start trading off my levels before I even open the room. So it's really
I'll tell you what, though, we have a very unique group here. We have several West Coasters, and I think we've got someone that's actually from Hawaii as well. They wake up in the middle of the night to get this whole thing. So you're in good company there. We have a lot of early risers in our community here. I got one follow-up question for you there. You talked about trading the DAX prior to trading the U.S. market open. Are you ever able to take something away from the trading session across the pond and then apply it to what happens in the US? Is that like a regular occurrence, or are they just completely separate?
Absolutely. I think they're linked. Absolutely. So you've obviously got the Globex levels on the US charts. So I'll be in trading while, like, from 3 a.m. on my normal charts, you'll see there's this often a little move, a little spike. Of course, it's because the European session's open. And yes, so yesterday the DAX just had a trending day, bullish trending. Guess what? S&P is the same, and Nasdaq was the same. And today, a little bit of a burst at the open, and it leveled out, and we had just a drop. It just plummeted. So I'm expecting something similar today on the US markets. There's this definite correlation, shall we say? I think, yeah.
Okay, fantastic. And it sounds like you're actually using that to your advantage, which is absolutely awesome. Good stuff on the morning routine and the phase 2, as you called it there. That makes a lot of sense there. I almost wonder if some of our viewers from across the pond have a multi-phase preparation step as well. Can you tell me a little bit about what you trade and how you trade?
Yeah, sure, of course. I've got a history of options and also crypto as well. And then I just it was about 5 years ago, and I just focused on. I love the movement of the futures. I trade the ES, which is the S&P, and the NQ, which is the Nasdaq, and also gold. I do GC. So that's like an extra present I've given the room now this year that we're going to cover as well. So I like. Oh yeah, it's about just over deliver, right? So it's always been ES and NQ, but I know I did a little. I like to talk to the room. In the room, they've got a nice chat that's going, and who likes this, who would be interested in this, who would be interested in that, who does that, and when they jump on, yeah, me, they're doing stuff in the background. So I thought I'll add the gold on to give them some extra levels as well. So I like to trade. I love the setups. I only use technical analysis. I don't use indicators. So I use measurement tools depending on my calculations. So I just like to watch across the time frames exactly the price action in detail, and then get a feel for it's going and work out and calculate. So that's what I like to do. A nice double bottom or a low with a higher low. I'll accept a low with a lower low. I've got what I call my has to hold cutoff level. If it goes lower than that, then I'm not taking it long at all, and I'll just piece it together, get my decision entry point where break above, come back, retest, and then off we go to my targets, 1, 2, 3, to my extreme target, number 3, I call my rubber band. And very, very, very often when we get to rubber band, it comes back at least a bit, sometimes a lot. And so I've got 3 proprietary sort of real juicy trades that I like. Same every day. Different levels, of course, because the market just is different every day. It's beautiful, right?
Yep,
sometimes they're spaced out, sometimes close, sometimes you have to wait an hour or so. Like the other day, on Friday, was 1, 2, 3 in a row. We're whoa, I could hardly keep up. It's okay, here we go, bam, 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 and I'm throwing stuff on. So that's what I like to do. Same setups, watch for the great movement, confirmation in the right direction, meet my levels. When it hits my levels, I'm in, and then I let it run.
That's awesome. That sounds very, very mechanical. I don't see much room for emotion in there other than if it gets a little too busy, which is great. That probably helps you stay consistent. Okay, I'm going to load up your charts here. I appreciate the rundown on the preparation and how you trade and all of that. Let's actually take a look at some charts and see what you're looking at here. First of all, I'm extremely encouraged to hear that you like Bitcoin. We've got a number of Bitcoin folk in here, so I'm definitely going to ask you about that. But
Sure.
Let's start here. It looks like you've got the ES and the NQ here. Let's start with the charts. What are you seeing here today, and what are you looking for?
Okay, so this I've just done a welcome video. I've just used these as examples. What I'll look at is price action from here. I'll look at, of course, we've got the daily as well. I will add, the only things I add would be parallel channels I like, or actual trend lines I draw. So this will give me a view for the day. Yesterday's green candle was a little surprise after a double top that's formed beautifully here. Nice reversal pattern, and that's a bit of a surprise. A big gap down to start, and it's come right back up. So I'm looking for it to potentially edge right back up to the top of my channel here over the next couple of days before dropping into this void. So bearing in mind, it's looking pretty bullish at the minute. I'll come back down and put on some levels. So these are just playing around. I've got tiny little 5-minute levels down here. I've got a fresh chart because I'm in the middle of my prep. So your timing is right in the middle of what I'd like to be doing. So I'll be looking at something, the new levels down here. So I'll put target 1 around 13, and then there's a small one just around 12. This is tiny for the moment on the 5-minute. And it looks like we've got 1, 2, 3 down here to start the day, I think. Otherwise, I think we might be going up a little bit more. I think they're going to squeeze us before they do anything to drop us down. I think they're teasing us. That's what I think. Same as the NQ. The NQ obviously very, very correlated, not identical, but when they match, then if one is on the turn, one gets a nice reversal for a specific level, then we'll trade the NQ at the same as the ES, or the ES same as the NQ, even if it doesn't appear to be a level. The correlation is so nice. Although the NQ is slightly wickier, is it a little bit more lively, as we know? You've got to allow for your stops there because the pricing is different. And we'll do the same. We'll take, if we've got a nice rubber band down here, I'll put a limit order on buy way in advance. As soon as the targets are done, I'll just put it on and wait. Patience is key. I take it down to the targets. And when I get close, I'll just let it bounce on up. Same as on this one. So a couple of small downside potentially at the minute. It's a very slow start. We had a move this morning because I was awake for 6 o'clock. We had a lovely move up from here. This was from this little mess here. I got a nice right up to, again, the rubber band was, my little chart up at 7,019. So we take it off there. That's the full move for me. It's quite small because it's pre-market, but it's still a couple of contracts. It's nice little earnings. This is like before everybody's awake over there. And then it's finished. So now I'm watching. It's back to the level 7,019. So now it hasn't shot past. It's looking like it's going to retrace a little bit for me down into my initial levels this morning. And the NQ is pretty similar. That's how it's going to start, I think.
That's awesome. I've been part of a number of debates over the course of my career about what's the right number of indicators, and there's very, very strong camps on you need as many as possible, and then there are some on the other end that say you need none. And I think that the answer probably lies somewhere there in between. But perhaps most importantly, it seems to me like what you're doing here is you are almost reading the tape, right? You're looking at price action here. You're using what you've learned in your experience to say, I've seen this before. This is how I'm going to set up a trade. I would imagine you just showed a buy level down there on the ES chart. I would imagine that red line is something like a stop so that you know what your next pain is.
This last one, what this is, that's a good point. Yeah, thanks. So I've just done a training video, so I've just put them perfect places. So for this move at 7,024.8, which I'll make 7.5 just up here, that will be for this move to the downside. This point is my has to hold level. Has to hold, which means the price has to hold. I won't let, if price closes above that, that's off. It's not going down there, and then I'll stop. I'll look for another move. So as long as price behaves, it can go back and retest there and come down. That's it. Otherwise, game over. If it breaks that way, then I'll have upper targets, and I'll look at maybe the 15-minute or the 30-minute chart. And if it's going to break up, then I'll just put new targets on. So we're doing it in real time as things flow through. In the background, I'm looking. So I've got big moves on like the 4-hour chart and the daily ready, but that's not going to work for intraday. It's not going to work this morning. So I've got like layers and layers of moves ready so that we can just go, if things move like really fast up or down, I can just go up a time frame and start giving the room some juicy targets and just let them get there. So
okay, that's absolutely. I really love this. I love seeing this. Look, I know we're pressed for time here. If I could have you take a quick look at Bitcoin, if that's all right, I'd love to hear what you see in the Bitcoin chart.
Let me. So I've got it on my other machine. I don't share that with the room. That's for me. Let me get this on up here. What have you seen? What are you fancying?
Well, I actually haven't taken a look here at Bitcoin yet. Let me pull up my chart here. I think that overall, in like kind of a longer time frame here, I'm really thinking that Bitcoin needs to pull back to that 72,000 level. So that's kind of the level that I have marked off here on the chart. This was a previous breakout level. It looked like after we broke out from this level and we pulled back, we might retest that 72,000. We never quite got down there. We actually bounced off a trend line that instead. But I'm thinking on this move here, we probably test that. I'd asked our group yesterday for some targets, and some of them said maybe 60 to 65,000 might be another reasonable target here on Bitcoin. So I'm just kind of looking for where we think we might see pockets of strength.
Yeah, excellent. Well, what's happened in January, my friend and I put our little heads together for the same system. We're looking at, it was up at around 97, 98. And so we looked at we're buying puts options, actually crypto Bitcoin options down to 90, 92, which it flew through. And now we're down. So we are looking down around exactly. You're looking at 72 as a potential entry now for long. So yeah, I agree with the same levels there. We're looking at around 72.
Okay. Awesome. And like I said earlier, I'm just so glad that I love having someone from across the pond share their experience with the market and all of that. I love that you're into Bitcoin. Keith, this is going to be awesome. Thanks again for joining us here today. Trade futures with Keith for free inside the Futures Zone virtual trading floor, February 9th through the 13th. QR code is on the screen. The link is in the chat. Keith, thanks for joining us here. I look forward to following up with you the next time. Have a great rest of your day. All right.
Awesome. Thank you, Ryan. It's a pleasure. Very nice. Thanks, sir.
You're
Take
very
it easy,
welcome.
everybody. Ciao.
Take care. That is Keith Chinnock from T3. Absolutely awesome. See, I told you, you folks from Europe that are trading our market with us, we'll bring you some other folks from Europe as well, without a doubt. Okay, good stuff there. Good breakdown. Let me know what you think here on Bitcoin. Are we buyers at 70 to 72,000? Are we waiting for something maybe a little bit lower? Do we think we maybe overshoot this level if the sentiment is just so poor? Again, just would love to get your thoughts on all of that. Okay, how much time do we have? We got about 13 minutes here before 13. I got one more news story here, and then we'll go ahead and do street tweets, and we will break down all of those pre-market movers. One more here. Try not to get all upset, but Howard Lutnick says the tariffs are working and goes on to slam critics after the ISM manufacturing beat the expectations. U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick declared a major victory for Donald Trump's administration trade agenda on Tuesday, pointing to a surprisingly strong rebound in factory activity as definitive proof that protectionist policies are delivering results. The Institute for Supply Management, or the ISM, reported that the manufacturing sector expanded in January for the first time in over 2 years, snapping a historic streak of contraction. The manufacturing PMI surged to 52.6%, which was up from 47.9% in December, exceeding analyst expectations and crossing the 50% mark that separates growth from contraction. Lutnick immediately credited the turnaround to the White House's aggressive economic strategy. Quote, for the first time in over 2 years, the United States has delivered manufacturing expansion, all thanks to President Trump's trade policies. End quote. President Trump, he goes on to say, President Trump is leading America's manufacturing revival. The Commerce Secretary used data to push back against economists who warned that tariffs might stifle growth. With the sector emerging from 26 straight months of contraction, Lutnick framed the report as a rebuttal to policy critics. Quote, tariffs are working, as we said, strengthening American manufacturing while reducing imports, end quote. Once again, the so-called experts were wrong. The ISM report highlighted significant underlying strength in the sector. The new orders index jumped to 57.1%, which was an increase of 9.7 percentage points, while the production index climbed 55.9%. Quote, 3 new orders production supply devices are in expansion territory, one more than December. That was Susan Spence, the chair of ISM Manufacturing Business Survey Committee. While Lutnick touted a reduction in imports, the ISM data showed the import index registering at 50%, indicating volumes remain unchanged after December. Meanwhile, 9 industries reported growth led by printing and related support activities and apparel and leather allied products. We'll see if this continues here. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of arguing about all of that. Okay. Now we are going to take a look at some of the tweets that are floating out there in Wall Street. Let's go ahead and get started with our street tweets segment. All right, first one here. This is from, I think it's pronounced Gita. Gita Gopinath says, this time around, a .com style correction would be far more consequential for the rest of the world with wealth losses, as a ratio of rest of the world GDP is twice as high. So the reason that I'm bringing this up is because there's been a lot of talk about a potential bubble. I know a lot of us are expecting pullbacks in the market. Some of those healthy. Maybe someone is expecting. Maybe some of you are expecting a little bit more kind of a aggressive pullback here. This here showing you that a big time correction like what we saw at the .com, it might not just affect Americans. In fact, it's going to affect foreign investors as well. The tweeted quote here with the chart, could you go back to that real quick, producer? The tweeted quote here says, foreign investors now allocate a record 32.4% of their U.S. financial assets to equities. That's high. You can go back to that graphic here to give you a better view of what we're looking at here. And as you can see, it is at we have new highs on this chart, frankly, new highs on this. So we'll see if we end up getting a big time .com era style correction. My view is still that we're probably not going to see that. And furthermore, I want to reiterate that a run of the mill 10 to 15% correction here is normal market behavior. It's not something to panic from. We'll see how it shakes out. Producer, next tweet. Pomp is at it again. GameStop, GME is going to look tame compared to the Elon meme stock when he combines Tesla, SpaceX, and XAI. So we talked a lot about SpaceX merging with XAI. We had potential rumors of SpaceX then merging with Tesla when it's all said and done. Elon is we'll just call him a controversial figure here. I could absolutely see this being meme stocky. I will say with such a high price tag, we just covered the story there. They're guessing that SpaceX IPO is going to IPO somewhere in the 500 handle. Nonetheless, should act memey. How many of you think that the new SpaceX IPO is going to be memey? Better still, how many of you plan on trading this when it comes out? Short, long, intermediate, whatever. I can't wait for this. I think this might be one of the biggest events of the entire year. Brian doesn't share my view. I will avoid that like the plague. I mean, the plague, please. That's for all you Seinfeld fans out there. Okay. Next tweet, producer. Next one here. This is from Zero Hedge. Zero Hedge has been doing really good work with a lot of the infographics here. Every 100-ton increase in quarter-over-quarter holdings from central bank/investors is equivalent to a 3% increase in the price of gold. Now, Lion, I know you've been saying King Gold, this, that, and the other thing for a long time here. My question is, how much more buying do you think we see from central bank and investors here? Are you using this at all when you determine some of your gold price targets? Do we think that this keeps up? And where do we think the price ends up going if this does keep up? Now, today is going to be an interesting day because we've started to see some bounces in some of these metal stocks. I want to see how they trade here today. AQS is going to be that silver ETF. I know we look at GLD all of the time. Lion, you've often talked about miners being maybe perhaps the next thing to trade here. So this is a really good graphic. We'll throw the tweet there in the chat. And man, oh man, we'll see how these stocks trade. Lion, I want to know from you what you think here on some of these metal stocks. All right. Let's go ahead and do our we need to wait for 13. When we get 13 here, we will do the pre-market pulse. I'm actually a little bit early, so this is on me this time. All right, let's see if there were any other stocks that we wanted to take a look at here. And my chart got reset. Let me go ahead and share Pro here real quick. I'll fix my chart before we get on. Oops, there we go. Here's Palantir. I actually wanted to see how this was doing. So this is still holding here 11%. So one of the things that I think we're going to do here on Palantir, we're going to do the good old post-earnings pre-market range. So one of the things I'm going to be looking at is the downside level here. And then the upside level here. So here we go. So I've got this 162.5 thereabouts to 165.75. Maybe we'll take a look there at 166. Let's see which direction Palantir chooses out of this range. It would be even better if we're able to get a back test of either one of these levels and then a trade going forward here. Again, the stock already being up 11%. We'll see how much more there is here on Palantir. Let me go ahead and continue fixing my time frames here so we can very easily select all of those. Oops, clicked the wrong thing there. My bad, guys. My bad. And then here, going back to the daily, the big thing that we're going to need to determine here, do we close above that 200-day? And if we do close above that 200-day, can we get more than one? I had actually asked one of the more conservative swing traders and investors in our happy hour group how he would handle something like this. And given the quick move down and then the single pop back above this level, just on the back of the earnings catalyst, he said he would need one of two things. Number one, he would need Palantir to trade kind of sideways here, definitely staying above the 200-day for several sessions. So that we kind of have to be patient and wait out. But additionally, he would said that a reclaim of the 50-day after the 200-day would also cause him to maybe speed up his long side trade. So that value there, 174.41. I'm not sure we get there today. I suppose it's possible. I'm not sure we get there today. But just a couple of things to look at here for Palantir. Okay. Let's see what else. You guys were suggesting a couple of things here in the chat. Yes, 13 is still filling up his gallon-sized coffee mug. You're right. That's probably what's going on there. But I don't fault him for that, by the way, because that's incredible. Let's see. What else did you guys have here? KGC is a great gold stock. Okay, so I was asking you, Lion, about different things to trade here with the gold price. Here's a look at KJC. This is, of course, Kinross Gold. I like this because I like how this has really kind of come back in towards the 50. I would have liked a lot more if this had really kind of touched it and held on to this level. But maybe we see that here today. Nonetheless, I agree here, Lion. I actually think that this is at a pretty good spot. Let's take a look inside and see what we're doing. Okay, we're just kind of holding pretty steady there. All right, so yeah, I'm thinking here for Kinross, probably a move above this area here. But I want to call this 34.5. I'm just going to call that 34.5. A move above 34.5 probably sets the stage to move back to that 37 handle. I'd be curious. I think you have a long-term view on KGC. Wisdom, you own this one for the long term as well. Okay, so this would be a pretty good one here for gold. I don't actually trade this one myself, but I would love for you guys to give out some of the different trade plans that you have with this. Okay, let's see. Yassine wanted to take a look at TER. That's Teradyne. This is one that we took a look at yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. Teradyne, massive pop higher here. First of all, congrats to anyone that held this, just because obviously a huge move higher here. Now, one of the things that we're seeing here in the pre-market, this is what I want to see for new trades here today. I'm glad that we're pulling back a little bit. Where does this thing actually settle? Let's take a look. I don't know if we're going to be able to find that here from the chart. I would say that as far as this gap that we're creating here, I definitely wouldn't want this to pull all the way back. I just kind of start here by looking at maybe a 50% of this. And I'm doing this by eyeball. So if you're actually going to take the numbers and do the math, better still. But I'm basically eyeballing this. Looks like 267, 268. If it pulls back in there, maybe we get a little bit of that kind of curling action that we talked about yesterday. We'll see here on Teradyne. I certainly don't want to chase this. This is extremely extended. In fact, just for giggles, let's see here. Even with the pullback this morning, this thing is almost 17% away from its 20-day moving average, 26% away from its 50-day, and 51.32% away from its 200-day. I too, before trying to take any type of non-day trade, a swing trade or an investment, I'd love for this to come back in and hold that there. So, okay, really good stuff. It's that time. The gallon-size coffee mug is full, folks. That means it's time for Pre-Market Pulse. Oh, I meant for 13 to be big, not me. There it is. Fueled by caffeine. Better than that, 13. Really, really good stuff. Good morning. Happy Tuesday. Hope that you're doing well here. I am messing with the producer. He is pulling his hair out. Okay. Where do you want to start here today? You've got the coffee. You call the ball.
Today doesn't look great. Most of the things that are moving right now are some form of a directional ETF. It's really just Palantir or Teradyne. So, we can go through the other ones, but there's not a lot, it looks like, here today. So just kind of want to front run with that.
Okay. And then really quickly here, I saw this. I wanted to I think someone answered, but I can't find it here. James, a newer viewer to the stream, says, I'm a noob to the stream. That's okay, by the way. Just a week or so. Can someone explain 13's nickname? So you're just the 13th person with your name, right?
Yeah, it's a suffix.
Fun fact, his son is the 14th.
Yeah.
So pretty
And
awesome
yes,
that you're keeping that going.
It is a tea bag. I have to switch for a little while.
Oh, okay. All right. Nonetheless, big coffee mug full. All right, 13.
I'm getting my liquids. Don't worry.
Yeah. Nobody's worried. That much I can assure you. All right. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the movers. Let's break them down, get it ready. We can use any extra time that we have here towards ticker time. So if there are other charts that you folks want to look at, we can go ahead and do that. Let's start here with the biggest mover of the day. I think that we've traded this before, although I cannot recall exactly when it was. This is going to be Fat Pipe. The ticker here is FATN, FATN. You can see the stock actually popped in the after hours yesterday, popped again here today, really seems to be struggling with that 375 area. In fact, we didn't even test forward to the upside. So we'll see if that's still in the cards here today. Fat Pipe reported earnings yesterday after hours, reported fiscal year 2026 results. The summary here is that revenues were up 30%, MRR was up 48% year over year, and cash flow now has turned positive. So for a little company like that, really good news. Obviously, the market is rewarding it. We are holding higher here by 64% today. A quick peek at the short interest on this thing. There's nothing going on here. So it certainly doesn't seem squeezy at all. Basically 11,000 shares held short here. This thing's got a float of 6.2 million. On average, it trades 300,000 shares. Today, it's traded 36 million shares prior to the open. So 13, what are you thinking here on Fat N?
Well, I think this one's already starting to show a little bit of weakness in the pre-market here, but I think we did trade this one before, and that might have been back in September when we did. That went on some kind of run on September 19th, I believe. We had, I think they had an HC Wainwright global conference they were showcasing their strategy at. So that's what I think was the news that we traded on then, if we did end up trading it. And just like the last few times that it's gone up to its 200-day EMA, it's been rejected. So we could end up seeing that here today as well if we do end up getting that high. Right now, I have that figure at just shy of 560, and we're about $2.50 away from that. So still a ways to go. Might not even get there. But if we are looking like we're going to head there, that's where I think that we probably won't go a whole lot higher than that moving average. Okay. Looking at a smaller time frame, I did take some notes here that the 65 EMA and the VWAP been kind of suppressing the price. Since I started, since about 9 o'clock this morning. So maybe a little bit earlier than that, but we've lost both of those. Haven't been able to recapture them since we've lost it. And my concern is that if we can't, by the time we open, we're going to end up losing the 200 EMA on the 5-minute as well. And that's going to feature a breakdown at about 285, just a little bit lower than 285 there. The company does have cash, and they're, on an annual basis, they are profitable, but they have some quarters that perform better than others. So don't think that there's a need for them to raise capital anytime soon. Things look okay there. But I just think if we are going to see any fireworks, it's going to have to be following that recapture of the VWAP and the 65 EMA, and takes us up into the $5 area where we could potentially get rejected by that 200 EMA. Okay, great plan there. Really good stuff there. We already have a new comment of the day, 13. It's early, but we've got a new comment of the day. First of all, we have Kenneth trying to improperly assign you a Lord title. I've earned mine. I'm not sure 13 has. He's definitely awesome, but I'm not sure he's earned that. So let's back that train up. But here's the comment of the day. 13's real name is aluminum. The 15th element. So forever to Bitcoin, I believe that's Barry the Great or Barry the Goat, whatever your old nickname was here. You will always get bonus points when you somehow incorporate the periodic table into a discussion here about stocks. I could think of a lot worse elements to be than aluminum. So 13, your new nickname, aluminum. All right.
Look, I like it, Barry. I like I don't know if I'm gonna be able to hold this up. 13 is going to
Call me Al.
13 is going to look at me like I'm crazy, but okay. Nonetheless, let's
You
keep
can,
moving
yeah,
here.
exactly. You can call me Al. There we go.
Okay, Al. Oh, God. Okay. I got to try and keep us on track here. I knew we were going to have fun, but I didn't know we were going to have this much fun. The next stock on our list here is going to be ticker NPT. This is Texon Holding, and you can see here, oh my, what happened.
China pump and
Huge.
dump.
What's that?
China pump and dump.
China pump. Okay. Well, he summed it up there. I'm not even going to click on the news feed then because we just summed it up here. China pump and dump. You can see exactly what this stock did. Ran up to about $30, came all the way back in. Sad trombone for all the people that were chasing here. That's not what we do on the show. We don't chase here. We make educated decisions. This is basically round trip the entire move. So if you want to watch this for a potential curl or another volume expansion through the VWAP, do so at your own risk. The stock has already showed you who it was. When the stocks show you who they are, believe them. And this one definitely feels pumpy and dumpy. A quick peek at the short interest on this, 0.7% of the float shorted with 1 day to cover. There's nothing there. So that's not going to play into anything. On average, the stock trades 62,000 shares. That's nothing. Basically a ghost town here. Float on this is 3.5 million. So it's right in that butter zone that we like. Today it's traded 13.5 million. 13 outside of the China pump and dump. You got anything else on this?
I mean, if there is going to be a trade in here, let's see if it can recapture VWAP. Otherwise, I didn't see any news. I just took a look at it, saw where this, this company resides in or where it does business in. And I was like, okay, well, all of this makes sense for the move. Basically, I think I just avoid this. Even if it does do some setup for a trade, and it could end up being a pretty good trade. I just don't know if they're just going to suddenly, pull out the rug from everybody that once it breaks VWAP or gets to a certain height. So just not going to, try to risk it with this one.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with you on this. Cam here says, I want to give this stock a second chance. They can change. And sarcasm. Cam, I can appreciate that. Jay here says, no, 13's not aluminum. He's actually Dan Marino's nephew. Not bad company to be in. Not bad company to be in there. Okay. And then Brett, Pumpy and Dumpy. I think I know them. Are they nice in real life, Brett? Let me know. Okay. Next here is going to be GXAI. This is Gaxos.ai. We've definitely traded this before off of PR and off of the relative volume scanner. We had a big move here this morning. What did we close at 141 yesterday? Move here took us to about 220. We've come in. We've retraced about 75% of that move. We don't have the strength to recapture the VWAP yet. So that's definitely something that we would want to watch here today. Gaxos AI says that Amazon Web Services commits to fund preliminary development of Gaxos Labs AI-powered sales coaching platform. The first question that I have for you folks, how many of you need a sales coach? I'm guessing not many. What this actually is some AI algorithm that's going to try to get you to buy more shit. That's what it sounds like here to me. We'll see how that ends up shaking out. That's the PR here. We're up by about 24%. Looking at the short interest, I still want to call this negligible, although it's more elevated than any of the other stocks that we've looked at here today. 3.92% with 1.19 days to cover. On average, the thing trades 2.1 million shares. Today, it's done just about 40 million, sitting right here at 39 million. Float on this one's 6.89 million. So again, right in our wheelhouse. 13, what do you think? Think we get a repeat long trade here on GXAI?
Well, if we are, we need to recapture that level that we just lost around 185. Since we had this impulse move, we've been holding generally above that level, and at about 950, or I'm sorry, 850, we lost that, and we haven't recaptured it yet. So that's going to be the area where I think we need to come back up to. It's below my VWAP. I have VWAP at 191, so it still has VWAP to recapture. In addition to that, it looks like the momentum has stopped, swinging to the downside. It's kind of leveling off right now. So don't know if we're going to end up getting another leg down that takes us to the 65 EMA yet, or if we are recovering and trying to go after that 185 recapture. So that's kind of what I'm looking at with this one. Yes, we have traded this before. I don't think that they're in a need to raise capital right now. They have enough in short-term investments to convert that into cash. And they have some revenue, just a little bit, and they don't lose a whole lot, but they are going to need cash. So I would imagine that they need that. They're going to just convert their short-term investments into it. But those are the levels I'd be keeping an eye on here. We get start trading above 185. We're going to want to see that recapture the view up, and we might be in a better shape to go higher.
Okay. All right, really good stuff there. We'll see here on GXAI. I'll be honest, just looking at these 13, I don't know about you, but just looking at these, kind of thinking I might want to stick to some of the metal ETFs and bigger stocks here today.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I see anything really great out here.
That's what I was alluding to. I was
Okay.
looking at this list, and it's mostly just the directional ETFs for Teradyne and Palantir, and then just a bunch of obscure names that we have traded 1 or 2 times before, but it doesn't look like they've got a whole lot of strength, not a lot of great PR. I mean, some of these have already had their runs and they've come back in. So I don't know how great a lot of these are going to be.
Okay. So really quickly here, I'm in complete agreement with you. And I would go so far as to say that the really great stuff that's happening here today, it's all people-based. The great stuff that's happened here, we had a new trader from T3 who is trading over in the UK. I thought he was absolutely fantastic. And the chat here today, you folks have been absolutely awesome. And you have very clearly not slowed down yet. Wisdom here saying, cheers to anyone holding beers. Brian saying, I think a beer at 9 a.m. would make me yak, which I would say here, the one caveat that I would have here is that there is one acceptable time, in my opinion, or I guess in my stomach's opinion, where beer is acceptable at 9 a.m. If you are tailgating for a football game, college or pro, that's okay. Otherwise, I think I'm avoiding beers at 9 a.m. Mimosas too. Pancakes, however, I will take. I will take. Okay. Like I said, you folks have been the best part of the morning here today. So we'll just focus more on the people if the market is not cooperating. Back to the movers tool here. The next 2 stocks here are not stocks. They're actually ETFs and they mirror Palantir. We've covered Palantir ad nauseum here today. 13, if you want to go over the Palantir chart at some point here today, we should have plenty of time to do that. I would imagine that this is going to be in play most of the day here today. But for right now, I'm going to skip some of these ETFs on the movers list. I don't really think we need to spend too much time on them. PLTU is the 2X bull ETF. PTIR is the 2X long. One's from Granite Shares, the other's from Direction. I stick with Direction because Ed, again, just getting back to the people here, Ed from Direction joins us all the time. He's absolutely fantastic. I'd probably trade PLTU on that. Okay.
I did
go
go over FIEE, but I don't know where that one's at right now.
Well,
I mean, it's really fallen down.
That's perfect because you're not the only person that's gone over this one. We were just talking about that. Bernhard getting it done. FIE is one more China pump and dump. So I wanted to skip the Palantir ETFs to go to this. So here you go. Chinese pump and dump. This thing rocketed up to 9. It's been doing nothing but leaking since then. We've almost round tripped this entire move here. A couple more stats on the stock. 0.74% of the float shorted with 1 day to cover. There's nothing going on there. Float on this one, 2.96 million. So we can definitely move this around. I shouldn't say that. This can definitely move around here. It did say here on Monday, and this was after hours, that it provides select preliminary 4th quarter and full year financial results. Said it had net sales of about 6 million and reports preliminary Q4 net sales of about 4 million. So, okay, glad they threw some of that number in there, but that notwithstanding, 13, what do you think here on FIEE?
Well, we are seemingly coming off of a bottom here, and it looks like that following this the first impulse move we had in the after hours might be trading into a falling wedge. So there could be some more upside here, but I don't know how great it's going to be. And we've traded this before. I still have all my levels from the last time we traded this, but this might provide some trades here. So I'm not necessarily saying this might not be great, but it certainly isn't anywhere near the levels it was last night around 9/11. So, and the thing is, it does have cash, it has revenue, it's nearly profitable. So this might be a real company. It might be decent. It does have just shy of 3 million shares in the float, so easy to move around as well. I just would say maybe just keep an eye on it. If it does have any trades it set up, it looks like it could. But there are some, resistance levels, like a lot of resistance levels it's going to have to get through if we're going to see that upside. So one really big level to keep an eye on for me is going to be 635. We got to recapture that. Okay.
All right. 635. The one thing I'd be looking at here is absolutely the VWAP. That's up at 664. We'll see if we're able to get above that 635 and then maybe make a move towards that VWAP. All right. Next here, it looks like I've got CYN. But before we get to this, again, I want to cover two things here. First of all, Jay, mentioning that speaking of the China pump and dump, TCGL, which is a stock that we looked at here recently, is halted for an SEC investigation. Here's what that chart looks like. This is one of those crazy ones. We talk about this here all of the time. I tell you all the time that the stocks that are these crazy halt fests that are moving on nothing, I like to just avoid them. This is one of the reasons. All right. The stock was halted, it looks like in the after hours on Friday, January 30th, pending an SEC investigation. If you're in this, you can't sell this. And I have no idea what's going to happen. I got to imagine this thing probably minus 99.9% if it even opens up. Jay, I'm really glad that you brought this up. I hadn't thought to even take a look at this ticker. We talk a lot, we cover a lot of the stocks that are really ripping and really making these huge moves. And it's great. And if you guys catch those and you make a lot of money, believe me, there's nobody happier than me and you. I can assure you, I'm happy anytime you folks make money. However, it would be a disservice if we did not cover what can also happen here. And this is it. This obviously was scammy. It didn't make sense. Now the thing's halted for an SEC investigation. I just hope no one from our community is going to end up losing money on something risky and stupid like this. This is one of the reasons why we make jokes about things being risky and why we tell you to avoid things that we simply don't understand or have too much inherent risk in this. Jay, I really appreciate you bringing this up here. And then also one more thing. I feel like this is not talked enough about. I know mental health is a big thing out there. Lion, I appreciate you sharing your story here. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but just regarding choosing not to have alcohol. This is, I think this is really awesome. And I think if you are out there, if you have somebody in your life where you at some point have chosen to either scale back or avoid alcohol altogether, you deserve a hearty pat on the back. And I just want to tell you personally that you are doing a great job. Alcohol is poison. I know it gets used as a social lubricant, but simply avoiding it to better your health, I think that is a great choice. And I'm here to support you. So just saying, I know it can be very difficult. I know addiction claims a lot of lives, but definitely better decisions to be made, and this community will be supportive of all of that. Lion, thank you for sharing that, and I'm sorry for digressing. Okay, let's get back to the actual movers list here. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm so all over the place, but I told you we were going to focus on the people here today. The next one on our list is going to be CYN. This is another stock that we have traded before. It looks like this is going again here. We traded up towards 230 and backed off. We did lose the VWAP, and we did not quite test the 65 EMA, but it looks like maybe we're bouncing here. Let's take a look at the news and see what is driving this one. Syngin advances collaboration with NVIDIA through the Department of Simulation Environment built on NVIDIA Isaac Sim to accelerate commercial deployment of autonomous vehicle solutions. So the big takeaway here, without going through the rest of the PR here, they're PRing about working with NVIDIA. We'll see if that's still as punchy as it's been. It also has AI in the headline, so giddy up. We'll see if that drives it. Short interest on this name, the most elevated of any of the stocks that we've taken a look at here so far. 12.46% of the float shorted with 1.15 days to cover. Quick look at the volume here. On average, it trades 1.65 million shares. Today, it's traded 35.19 million, float 7.24 million. 13, I know we've traded this before, so perhaps you have prior levels for this. What are you thinking here, CYN?
It doesn't look like I have prior level. I didn't mark any off, but this is the one that has that drive mod. I don't even know if it's like software or if it's like equipment or what, but they have a product called Drive Mod that converts vehicles into autonomous driving, apparently. So interesting stuff. But as far as the chart goes, looks like we are getting some support from the pullback on the impulse move that happened earlier this morning. Following that impulse move, we came back down to about 188, and then we got support there and turned around. So we have just recently, in the past 20 minutes, came back down in that area and found support near the 65 EMA. So, and we are starting to level off here with the momentum. So thinking that we might see another attempt to come back up to VWAP here, but volume's been really, really low. I don't know if we're going to see a whole lot out of the gate, but I think once we open, we're going to see much more of that volume, and it's going to give us a direction it's going to go for the morning. So those would be the two areas that I think that we're going to want to keep an eye on. Can this hold above the 65 EMA around that 188 area, or is it going to come back up and break through VWAP? If it breaks through VWAP, there's some upside targets we can infer by drawing a trend line through the top ends of the impulse moves.
Okay, I'll just do that here. I mean, we'll see if we actually get this. So here's the top of those impulse moves. We'll see. We'll see if we get this, but to your point, this at least gives us a target if we do, in fact, turn around there. One more thing here real quick. We kind of talked about this yesterday. We kind of talked about this curling action. We often, when we're in the moment, we talk about curling and we just do it kind of quickly. So I wanted to spend a little bit more time on it. Right in here, this candle, this is on the 5-minute chart, by the way. This candle in here, this looks like a bullish candle here. So really, if you're trying to be patient and wait out a downtrend here, when you see a bullish candle, the next candle, when it ends up taking out that high, that's going to be your entry trigger. Now, really quick, just looking at this in hindsight, 195 would have been the entry trigger, and the thing topped out at 201. So do you really want to take a trade that has a 6-cent upside? Maybe you looked at it as the VWAP here as your possible target, and that made your risk to reward calculation work. Just don't change.
Uh-oh. I don't know what happened there. There we go. Oh, okay. Well, maybe we just lost him for a moment. Anyway.
So where did I cut off there? It looks like I just had an internet snafu there.
Oh,
sorry about that.
You were just wrapping up about the the confirmation of when you were one entry, I think.
Yeah, so I'm just kind of looking at some of these candles. Remember though, whatever your plan is, have it set and don't necessarily change it based on what you're seeing here. Okay, sorry about that. Sorry about the internet snafu. Modem looks like it's okay, so I should be all right here. One more thing I wanted to mention, AGQ. This is the ProShares Ultra Short. This is the ProShares Ultra Silver ETF. We take a look at the 15-minute chart. Look at the moves that this thing made. Look at the moves that this thing made. This thing came down from 400. It's at 173. So I understand if folks want to trade this here today. Okay. Really quickly, 13. I didn't have anything else on the movers list. I want you to be able to cover anything else that you want to cover. But once again, it seems like we got some more news here with Ondas. Ondas secures strategic defense contract in Asia Pacific as part of its global expansion. Part of me wonders if there's any numbers in this. I would expect no. Yeah, I don't really see any. That doesn't surprise me. This again is just kind of one more mile marker that we're definitely trying to really kind of ramp this. This makes sense why they did so many offerings, why they're buying so many things. There's not numbers in this, so we can't tell what's moving to the bottom line. Maybe it's volatile from this, but generally speaking, I would put this piece of news in the positive category.
I do like that this news comes in an effort to lift the price away from the 50-day SMA, because we just came down to test that, and we went a little bit sideways yesterday, created an inside candle, and now here we are reversing. So I would like to see this move up and away from the 50-day SMA now. I'm not in this, but just looking at the chart, I'd like to see this go up to 12, see what happens up there. But this looks like a nice move off the 50, getting support from that moving average.
Okay. All right. Look, if this is the pullback and we get a very similar pullback to what we had at October to November of last year, maybe this turns around. We'll see. All right. 13. Is there anything else that you wanted to cover here?
Whatever the chat wants to.
Whatever the chat wants. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to the big chart, my big chart tool here. Did you want to cover Teradyne at all?
Well, one thing that I was looking at here this morning with the price action was
I'm gonna 13. I'm gonna leave the daily chart on here and step away for just 1 sec. Is that all right?
Sure.
I'll be right back.
Yeah. So we got this. We got the earnings report, and everything was great. We got all this movement up to a little bit more than 310. But it's the price action since then that has me concerned. And of course, now that we are much lower, it's not looking great. But this whole movement here that we had following the earnings report, we kind of bounced around for hours, creating a bit of a double top here in the non-regular session. And then when we broke beneath the support area, that was previously a resistance area, around 296, 297. That's where the breakdown was. That was support, all through after hours and pre-market until it finally lost it. So here we are giving everything back. Wouldn't surprise me if this ended up coming back down into the 250s, maybe the mid to low 250s before we finally found our footing. So not surprised with all this price action we had in the after hours and the pre-market that this is heading lower. Just not a great set of price action here. So now maybe this trades better later on in the day. Don't know. Or maybe we do get some kind of a rebound since it's a pretty steep fall going into the open here. If we are going to get that, we do want to see, I would say 255 hold up. That to me looks like the next big area of support if we are going to head a little bit lower. So we'll see what we end up getting with Teradyne. Looks to me like this still could come in a little bit more, but it's almost completely given everything back. Hopefully it holds above 255.
Okay. Really good stuff. Next one here. I'm just going to this. I see someone else asking about this PayPal. Did you check this out yet today, 13?
No. How they reported, right?
They sure did.
Okay. Oh, Jesus.
Oh, Jeebus, indeed. So PayPal here getting absolutely taken out to the woodshed Fargo style. This thing down 18% here in the pre-market 13. I was talking earlier about where's the next spot that this bounces. And after we've kind of seen this move, don't we get to a spot where maybe even just a dead cat bounce makes a lot of sense? RSI here in a 13 handle, not a typo. 1356 on the RSI. Thing is absolutely plunging. Look, maybe you need a hazmat suit to handle this stock here because it seems toxic. This to me looks like it wants to roll lower. I'd love to hear thoughts on the PayPal trade here today.
I mean, we're almost back down to 10-year prints, like 2016 prints. We're coming down to. As a matter of fact, we may have just briefly touched on 2015 highs. This is so ugly. We're gonna have. I mean, I'm pretty sure we're gonna find some support at some point soon here. Maybe around 39 to 40. Could be a little bit lower, but this is. I mean, we've given back almost everything since this IPO'd.
Yeah. In fact, James here saying it's at IPO prices. Oh, and by the way, Bigabees came up with a new nickname for this, and Matthew is kind enough to remind me because my goldfish memory is already showing up here. This is now called Pain Pal. It's no longer PayPal. It's Pain Pal because all this thing does is just trade down here. Look, your guess is as good as mine, folks. I mean, I see a question here. Does anyone use PayPal?
Yeah, I do.
I do. Yeah, I do use it. And it's done well for me. And I like it because it's convenient. But man, the stock, different than the product. Very, very clearly here. And this one looks awful.
I don't own PayPal.
Neither do I. All right, we're open.
Okay, let's see what we got here. Teradyne still sinking a little bit lower here.
Oh my God, that retraced its entire move, Teradyne.
Yeah, so I was getting at here when we were talking. Okay, so there it is, right down to the 250s, the low 250s, and even lower now. This thing is giving even more back. Woo! Okay, so we should see a bounce here then. Okay. So that happened. Let's look at some of these other movers. Geez, everything else is just completely muted. Fatten, the fat pipe one, that's trying to recapture the 65 EMA. Large seller in a way at 325. Some of the other ones here. Okay, so now we're getting a little bit of a rebound there in Teradyne. Right down to, I mean, I was saying the mid to low 50s. We went down to 246 and then rebounded. So, man, oh man, that was a big move down. But now we should see a turnaround here. Resistance, I would say, is probably going to be up around 270. So we're about to hit that.
Okay, I mean, look, this is actually a pretty decent bounce. I wouldn't have felt good enough to take that, but looks like a pretty decent bounce nonetheless.
NPT halted to the downside. I think we all knew that was going to happen. This is the China pump and dump. GXAI, this one actually showing signs of life here, coming up to some resistance. I think 185 is going to be your earliest resistance area from right where we're at. If we get through that, then I think we're going to be wanting to look at 2 as the next resistance area.
Okay, here we go on GXAI. Maybe here we go.
Yeah. And then let's see, CYN is coming down to the 65 EMA and trying to get some support. Hasn't broken down beneath that. FIEE, this is, this is kind of back testing some previous levels.
Okay.
So go ahead.
Sorry, I thought you were finished there. Really quickly here, Palantir, we had outlined the pre-market channel that it's making here. It actually dipped out of the open. Looks like it held that range. Now we're trading back up to the highs of this range. Be honest with you, I don't feel great necessarily about buying this breakout. Part of me wonders if this is going to kind of bounce around in here. But if we break out from this level, I'd love to see a back test. Again, those numbers there, the upside level 165.75, the downside level there 162.5. We're right back down to the bottom. Right back down to the bottom.
And here we go with Teradyne getting resistance at that 270 area. The print we have for now in this candle is 271.04. So it did go slightly higher than 270, but there is that resistance there. Now we're getting some more downward pressure. GXAI looking much better. We're right up at that resistance area, trying to get through that 185. If we can, we're going to be wanting to keep an eye on $2 as the next resistance area.
This GXAI, this was a pretty good call out. That was a nice move from that open there. Lions NUKK is on the scanner here. Maybe we get a similar move that we just saw in GXAI. An NUKK, I'd be looking at this 266 to break. Furthermore, I think I'd like to see this get above 267. So far, this did hold the 65 EMA. I'm not sure how I feel about that, though. And then really quick here, Jay mentioning Microsoft, no bounce here. Indeed, I'm glad we only nibbled on that. Microsoft, more new lows here today as that continues. Kathy, good morning. It's good to see you as always. Kathy mentioning Bloom Energy here, ticker BE. Bloom Energy straight up. They have earnings in 2 days, Kath. Are you trading this for earnings? God, look at this. Look at this just break higher here. Bloom Energy. Tell you what, energy being a theme here in 2026, that's been a winning call so far.
FIEE really breaking down now. Testing the lows. China pump and dump.
FIEE, huh?
Yeah. CYN is still getting support from that 65 EMA. Hasn't shown signs of reversing yet.
CYN, yep, that's right there at that 65. All right, let's check Palantir here. Look at that. Palantir, that first bounce was a fake bounce. So you know what's crazy here? You know what made this trade a little bit more difficult? First of all, I was taking my eyes off of it. I suppose if I was watching it like a hawk, it would have been a little bit easier. But look at this. We basically peaked beneath this level, immediately got bought back up, and then reversed. So I had been calling for a back test of the level. We said, forget your level. We're going to back test where we fell from. And now we're resuming to the downside. So no position here on a Palantir short. For me, that setup just it didn't look as crisp as it needed to. Get in there.
This is where it needed to actually get support because the 200-day SMA is right here.
Right here, 159. Yep.
So we need to hold this area here because if we can't, then we're coming back down. I think we could even go lower. This chart, daily, weekly, however you want to look at long term for Palantir doesn't look great to me. It looks like a head and shoulders pattern. If we are going to resolve this fully, the price could eventually get down to as low as 90.
Okay, really quickly here, I mentioned this at the outset of the show when we first started talking about Palantir. I want to reiterate it again for those that are joining us late. When Palantir reported its earnings, it immediately popped right to this 159 level, 13. We were looking at that in happy hour. It was the 200-day, yep. And we even said, will it have the strength to push above? Well, actually, in the after hours, it came off that spot as if that resistance area was going to hold. This morning, we gapped above it, but look what's happening now. Right back down. Now, perhaps we're overshooting it here. Maybe this bounces off of the 200 EMA down here at 157 3/4. We'll see. And then we'll see if we recapture this. If you're going to swing this, the closing candle here today is going to be important. 13, I appreciate the head and shoulders breakdown that you just gave us. And one more thing here. I'm sorry I'm moving so fast. I did have tea, but I had a lot more coffee. Kathy, I'd asked you what you're going to do with Bloom Energy prior to earnings. I'll probably trim this. I think that's the smart move. I think that's what Jay Rice has been doing here with some of his winners, trimming them before earnings. So I like that. I like that plan a lot.
Yeah, and I do as well. And anybody that likes this company that's trying to get into it, I don't think now's the time. I don't think now's the time to be doing that. This is
Okay.
this is the movement you in my opinion, you'd be selling into this. This is the kind of movement I think you would sell into. And this, with the earnings coming up, having run up into those earnings, I think there's going to be a much greater chance that we sell off as a result of those earnings, even if they're good. And it might not be completely bearish, but it might be enough to where it's clearly profit taking, and it could come take us back down to 160 or as low as 145 down near the 20-day SMA. So just keep that in mind when you see like a lot of these really popular stocks. This has been popular for a while. These popular stocks that run up into their earnings. I think that's a little bit riskier to try and take a position then.
Okay, you said earnings 5 times in the matter of 15 seconds. That was just the club that I needed over the head to repeat the earnings graphic here for today. So remember, tonight, AMD, Mondelez, looks like CMG, that's Chipotle on there as well. So Amgen. So we do have a lot of big reports here tonight. Tomorrow morning, though, AbbVie, Lilly, Uber in the morning. GlaxoSmithKline in the morning, and that's before the tech reports in the afternoon there with Google and all of that. So a lot of earnings still coming out. Okay, Palantir down to this 200 EMA. Folks, what do we think? Do we think it bounces here? 13, I know you've already, I know what you think already.
Well, yeah, but that's like, that could take, weeks or months to get down there. But, I'll look at that in just a second. I just wanted to point out Teradyne actually moved through the 170 area or 270 area, and it ran up to the 200 EMA on the 5-minute. It's been rejected there for now. Don't know if we're going to get through that. I'm not really liking the way that this the price action has been shaken out here in the pre-market going into the open. So we could see this 200 EMA could be the site of rejection that ends up taking us lower. So keep that in mind. If we start losing VWAP here as a result of this rejection, I think that's what could happen.
Okay, really quickly here, folks. A lot of stuff is pulling. Ondas pulled. The market is pulling. Palo Alto's pulling. Apple pulled off the highs. Tesla even moved lower here. PayPal hasn't shown any strength going up. Here's a look at the metals. So silver looks like this came in towards that 65 EMA and is bouncing here. That means that AGQ also bouncing. Is anyone trading silver to the upside or gold? Just curious with the way the market's moving here.
Is anybody willing to jump into that volatility?
I'm not here to argue facts. Okay, well, I'm glad that's the case. Nice handle. Of 7 patterns I have on Palantir, 137 is the highest target. Okay, let's be a good human. Lion, you are trading both silver and gold here today. AGQ here, 177 it just broke into. Remember, this thing was down from 400 off that huge silver squeeze.
Keeping an eye on Rigetti. This may, it looks like it's trying to establish its footing so it can, try to reverse, but it's just continuing its series of red candles. I'm just watching to see if this is going to break down, because if it does, we're going to see some really nice prints in RGTZ. That was actually really good yesterday. We went from a little bit more than $25 at the open, all the way up to 29 by the time that almost before lunch. So nice movement there today. Don't know if we'll get that here as well on this day, but so far it's looking like Rigetti's weak out of the gate and could get weaker.
I'm looking if I see anything really interesting on the unusual options. I could have missed something there, but I don't see anything particularly interesting. USAR here. Remember, we had the headline here of the Strategic Mineral Reserve. USAR trading higher here. Interestingly enough, this stopped right where it stopped yesterday. Actually had kind of a nasty pullback from this area too. So USAR, this might be one to watch. No position for me on this. I think somebody asked about Pfizer. Pfizer here, this is actually down on earnings, although it looks like it's trying to bounce here. I don't normally trade Pfizer. It does look like this is curling up. To me, I think that there are probably some better stocks to trade. see what the daily looks like here. So it looks like it came into that 65 and that 200 EMA. I sure looks like this 26 to 27 area is going to represent your upside resistance. This actually goes all the way back to the beginning of 2025. This whole area here, that's ticker PFE Pfizer.
Yeah, it looks like it came. The guidance wasn't, really enticing investors. Kind of a little bit below the midpoint for guidance. So likely why they are avoiding this one or selling it. That's just the way I see it. I mean, you have this guidance for fiscal year 2026 in the range of 59.5 to 62.5 billion. And the estimate was for more than 61 million. So I think they're, just slightly underneath the midpoint on that.
Okay. See what else we have on here. Fuse. This was another recent runner. This was one from yesterday. This getting back in action here. It looked like this 310 was an area yesterday, maybe 324.
So thanks for pointing out UPS. This was Retro Texas. So I think maybe somebody else also mentioned UPS earlier, but this having a really nice morning, going from what is it, about just under 111 now up to almost 114, possibly on the transportation sector reacting to declining oil prices. Don't know if there's anything else driving this higher. GXAI also coming up to a point of resistance, large seller in the way at 190, trying to take them out right now. We'll see if we get that. If we do, we might see $2 prints.
Oh, sorry, which one is this?
This is GXAI.
GXAI, thank
one of the
you.
Movers. Yep. Trying to get through that 190 seller right now. Need to see a little bit more expansion in the volume. Meanwhile, Teradyne did get above that 170 area, went as high as the 200 EMA, got rejected, came back in. Now it's leaning on that 170 area as support. So that's good to see. Might need a little bit more time here, but we want to see a break through this 200 EMA. Hopefully it gets the volume to do that.
Okay, pretty good bounce there on Teradyne so far. Let's take another quick peek here at Palantir. This thing, boy, I tell you what, that first bounce there, that almost looked bull trappy. Palantir continues to roll over here. We did lose that 200 EMA, the 200-day moving average that we had there on the daily. 155 now, Palantir.
GXAI did get through that 190 seller, but more stacking up in front of it. Still haven't gone up to $2 yet in the regular session.
I'll tell you what, of all of the movers here, this GXAI looks to be the best so far. Ed mentioning AMPX is running. That's another one that was a recent winner for us.
Yeah, and this is another one that's going to be in the battery theme for on the drone side. Had a nice run up this morning here into 1468. Turned around immediately. Now it's losing VWAP, coming down to some of the support area that we had in the pre-market.
Someone had asked earlier about the battery theme plays.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they were asking for a list. The comment went by really quickly. I'm sorry, I don't remember it. But AMPX on that list, I think ABAT was another one of the smaller movers that we had talked about on that list. So do we have any more there?
Want me to just post it in the
chat? If it's convenient for you, go ahead and post it in the chat again. I think somebody asked about that one earlier.
So this is the list that I have for U.S. Battery plays. There's a lot more battery plays out there, but these are ones that have production.
The copy and paste took out the spaces, which makes that tough.
Oh, geez, that sucks.
Yeah, that does. That's okay. We'll figure out a way to get you that list. If you can discern it from there, bonus points for you. That would be impressive.
Or you could subscribe to Benzinga Pro and I could post it in the happy hour chat.
Or you could do that. That's a really good point. That's a really good point. Okay, still haven't seen really anything terribly interesting on the options.
GXAI new session highs coming up to 2.
Oracle maybe trying to hold 157 here. This thing has also been really, really tough. What's PayPal doing? Let's check PayPal here real quick. PayPal, excuse me. PayPal still on the lows. Wow. How about SanDisk? I see several folks trading SanDisk here. That pulled back a little bit here, but this is basically just looking at this intraday. They basically pulled this thing back to the 200 EMA on the 5.
Yeah, sorry. Sorry about that. No spaces.
Yeah,
that's one heck of a ticker. I was like, yeah, I wonder what company that's for.
Real quick here, question. Josh asking, how far do you think SanDisk goes down here today? I would say, I mean, that's kind of a crystal ball question. I don't necessarily know where it's going to go here today. So far, it definitely looks like it's catching some support right down here, about 669.5. Maybe want to call that 670. I wouldn't actually be shocked if 650 gets printed here today if the stock is still pulling. But we've seen these things bounce like crazy and with the quickness. And in fact, somebody earlier today was asking, who's going to ride the Micron gravy train here today? Well, Micron's chart looks extremely similar to SanDisk. Excuse me, need some more tea there, apparently. Both of these are bouncing here. Let me know what you guys think on this.
I mean, this could be, and we've seen this before where we've had this, bearish reversal candle, and then it just goes sideways the following, a couple of days and then rips higher. So we would need to see some previous levels get taken out here. I think that 650 is going to be one of the very earliest ones, but 600 is also looking like a pretty big level as well. If we got down to 500, that would represent a pretty good corrective move in this. That's going to be, I say corrective, it's more like a bearish bear market move. It's down, it would be down around 30%, a little more than 30% from the highs if we ended up getting a correction to $500 in SNDK.
Hey, check this out. GXAI up to that first resistance area. This is definitely a trim area. Daniel doesn't even need us to. Daniel, let's go. Registering for Daniel here. GXAI 184 to 221 on one trade, done for the day.
Excellent.
Way to go. And you know what? If that keeps going, guess what? Your workday is already done, Daniel. Really good stuff there. Kathy, thanks for mentioning GXAI here. Kathy, do you think this breaks? Just gut feeling, does this break to the upside there?
Are we really getting this TIRX one to run again?
Yeah, apparently I wouldn't. This is penny stock. It's moving straight up out of the gate here. I would imagine some of the gunslingers are on this. I would not be surprised at all. After what we saw here, I'm gonna avoid this one.
Yeah, this one, it had a really good day last Wednesday. We're getting some very similar volume, but we're nowhere near those levels, and we are. It still is going to have to recapture the 20 and 50-day SMA if it's going to have the similar moves like it did last Wednesday. So I don't know if that's going to happen. If there's going to be any kind of upside move that takes us to a particular level, might be 38 to 40.
Okay, wow, that'd be crazy. Kathy here, appreciate this. Out GXAI at 209. Kathy, registering for you. I usually get out too early, so judging off my luck, it may keep running. Kathy, that is relatable AF.
It totally is. But you know what?
Relatable.
Just it's a great time to write down how you could have done this differently. Make this entry into a journal. About your trade, so that the next time you're confronted with this, you know exactly what to do, how you felt, all those different things. But that was a great trade. I don't think you should be beating yourself up at all if it goes higher. You got what you wanted out of this, and that's all that matters. All right, now what? Let's see what else is moving here. How GXAI to 220?
Yeah, it didn't quite go to 221. I think that's just a typo on that. I don't know. I didn't trade this one though.
I think what they're asking is how can it go to 221 if the high
so first of all, I don't think he said 221. I think this was my fault. I think that he said 2 and 210, which is exactly what's typed there. And I think I just read it wrong. So excuse me, Dennis, I believe I misread what Daniel had said. That one's on me. I'm sorry. Daniel, I'm sorry that I completely read that wrong. Okay. Just with that speed, I read it wrong. My fault. Sorry. But that answers the question.
Okay. No, I understand what he was saying. But we could get that 221 print pretty soon here. It's got to break through. I mean, the high of the pre-market's 217. We already hit 215 in the regular session. Certainly could go higher. Nothing else really looking interesting to me.
One thing that I did actually just nibble a little bit on here, I don't know if I like it. I bought a little bit more IDAI. So I had told you guys before, I'm going to be trading part of this position here. Last time that I ended up trading some of this, I sold some at like 430 and change. I think it was like 434 or something like that. We've basically come back into what my average price is. My average price in the stock, 317. So I added a little bit here back to my initial position, which I'm going to trade. So if IDAI bounces here and goes back to a 4 handle, I'll lighten a little bit of this and still keep a core in case we get that big outside move. While I don't like the action of the stock here, I still love the theme. So I still think the theme is intact. I still think authentication, verification, and identification is going to be key. And IDAI seems to be at the center of that. So add a little bit here. This is risky, and this is not a day trade.
Joshua bought the MU jet. Get out now. What did NUKK do, Pretty Panda? Let me look.
I'll bring it up on screen.
Well, it's looking.
It gave it up. It faked a bounce and then puked it out on the backside. No bueno.
When were we looking at this one last?
Well, this is one that Lion had traded one day when it made a gigantic move. We've seen it come back here. This is when we did it. It was it that day? No, it was right in here. It was in May. It's had a couple of other pops that we've talked about, but really not that huge outsized move. Mm-hmm. This looks like new lows here, NUKK.
We're almost so we've almost completely given back all the price, all the big upside movement that we got at the end of December of 2024, right before the big move. We've almost completely given all that back. If you look at December 17th, we're just now coming down to those lows that day. So there it is, 100% retracement in NUKK.
Brian, if you're our judge, excuse me, any of you New York Giants fans out there, the Giants are hiring Matt Nagy as their offensive coordinator. Just curious on your thoughts on that. Not important, though, as it's not market related. Just seeing that come across the newswire here. All right, what else we got? TIRX, is that pulled off the spot? We'll see on that one. I'm going to avoid that one. GXAI looks like we ran into resistance right up there at the top, right there at the pre-market high.
I mean,
Bloom Energy calls. Are these closing orders? No, this is an out of the money order there. Someone spending $202,000 betting on Bloom Energy to the upside. These calls expire at the end of February.
What strike?
180.
Oh,
PE.
Okay. It's not too far away. And 180, and I can do one.
Caleb, I'm sorry, man. As someone who roots for a team that was coached by Matt Nagy and was an utter disappointment, I'm sorry for you.
Would Palantir go to 145 again? Where are we at right now?
Let's bring up Palantir. That thing's been straight down, no bounce. I guess that maybe there was one in here, but
I mean,
I don't think that was tradable.
I think it could go lower. Not today, but it's given enough time, I think it's going to head lower here. I just don't like the way that this pattern has been shaping up since the summer of last year. It's kind of gone sideways, showing some topping patterns. Looks like a head and shoulders to me. If we get a resolution of this, I think that that could take us down under 100. 90s where I've got my eyes set for a full resolution of this pattern. So we'll see if that ends up happening. All right. Right now, we're just gap filling to the downside. So maybe you get some kind of a bounce once we've filled this gap. And that should be at about 151.
So I like these thoughts here from the group. You guys have continued to just be awesome here today. James saying it's going to do the same as Apple. It'll go a little bit lower and then it'll come back to 165. So I know the numbers aren't the same on Apple, but I know exactly what James is talking about here. Apple actually looked like it was going to break down, and here we are right back above that 265 level. Actually, Apple's strong here today. Relative strength to the broader market. Apple's up 0.5% here, 271. James, that's a good mention. There, I actually hadn't with this sell-off here. I kind of looked away from Apple there. Marianetta saying Palantir's massive fade from the open probably signals a local bottom, and I think that's what we're trying to discern here, right? Where does this thing bottom? 13's in there talking about maybe 145. Looks like this 154. The after hours low. Maybe that gives it some support.
No, the gap fill. I was talking about the gap fill. That might be.
I probably should have looked at the chart when I did that. Then
the gap fills at around 151.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
Once that happens,
here it is.
We might see some reversal and trade back up. But the thing for me is that we're getting rejected here, and we're falling back down beneath the 200-day SMA. This much time beneath that moving average is not great in my view. So if we continue to trade underneath that and can't recapture it, I do think this is going to go lower. And I think this pattern, this longer term pattern, is indicating that it could go lower.
Okay. Quick peek here at one of the heat maps, just to kind of give you an idea of what's going on here. Tara saying communication stuff seems to be up today. Kind of looking at this communication services. Some of them are, looks like Google, Verizon doing all right there. To me, it sure looks like staples and utilities, the best performing sectors here today.
Yeah.
And you throw healthcare in there too. Merck really green today.
GXAI, be careful with this. We're getting a series of upper shadows here. These are long wicks on the top end of the candle. That can indicate that this is going to weaken and potentially. Okay, never mind. It's already doing it.
All you had to do was talk about it. I couldn't even load the chart fast enough, bro.
So here we're going to want to see if this current candle is able to hold the VWAP. It's continuing to look like it's not, but it is coming down to some support around the 180 area where we were getting resistance this morning. So that can be a resistance turn support area. We'll see if it gets the support. Looks like so far it's rebounding off that area. But if it can't recapture VWAP, then I think it's going to fall through and continue lower.
Real quickly here, Chicago Realtor. First of all, good morning. It's been a minute. Good morning to you. I hope all is well and Happy New Year. Just don't tell Larry David I said it this late. Thinking about building a position in Comcast, which is CMCSA. Your thoughts? Okay, well, I'll give you my thoughts here. You're not going to like them, but I'll give you my thoughts here. First of all, I have an inherent bias here. I use this company. I feel forced to use this company, and I dislike this company very, very strongly. I have a very colorful nickname for the stock that's not safe for work and not appropriate for our show here, so I'll spare you all of that. I will just say that my personal thought here on Comcast is not a great one. This is not a stock that I would like. With that being said, though, I would listen to any of the bull cases on it. I'm just saying, I'm sorry, I don't have one for you. Here's what the chart looks like. 13, I'd be very curious to know what you think about this chart. Does look like maybe the bottom is in here, 27. Looks like today is a recapture. If we close right here, would be a recapture of the 200.
I see a falling wedge. So that can be bearish. If you draw a trend line from like the 2021 highs through the 2024 highs, and then you draw another trend line through the 2020 lows, through the 2022 lows, and keep that going, they eventually converge, and you have yourself a wedge here that's aimed to the downside. That can be bullish. So the things I would need to see are going to be we recapture the 20-day SMA, so that's good. The next step is to recapture the 50, and if we can do that, you have the 200 and this the top trend line in the almost the same area. So that could be the breakout spot that takes us out of this wedge. Now we do want to mention that we could come up to the top of the wedge and then reverse and go back down. So we might not get a breakout from the first visit here. But the more we hammer this 200-day SMA and this the top trend line, the more likely we are to break out of it. So I don't want to say that this isn't a good idea. It looks like it could be. What's going to drive it out of this wedge? They're not going to get. They're off the table for picking up Warner Brothers Discovery, even though that would have worked out really great for them. So what's the angle for them going forward? Where's the growth going to come from? Is what I'd be wondering. But that's what I see on the technical side, is that we are trading down into a falling wedge.
13, help me out. What did I do wrong here with the trend line? What was the top side trend line for the wedge?
That's more or less what I'm looking at there. That's
Okay.
pretty much the falling wedge. Yeah.
Okay, it just wasn't quite lined up. I just want to make sure, but this gives you an idea of what 13 was talking about there.
Yeah, I drew through the November 2024 high. You seem to have it a little bit underneath there.
That's what I had initially, because this is what my eye looks like. So okay, great. We'll keep it right there. Really good stuff there though on Comcast. I'm sorry that my bias is what it is. Webcoin here says, I also use Comcast. I will say that the service has improved the past few years. Well, I'm glad it's improved for you. It's actually got worse for me. And I don't follow the stock. I'm not here to argue facts. Says unplug. I had Comcast Business. One of my previous employers used Comcast Business. They seemed like they were always having trouble as well. So in any case, good stuff on the chart breakdown. Thank you, 13, for that help there.
Yep. Looks like, okay, so looking at some of these movers, CYN is trying to hold above the 65 EMA. And if it continues to get that support and recaptures VWAP, we might see some more upside here. But volume has really fallen off. So I don't know what we're going to get out of this one. But if we lose that 65 EMA as support, I think we're going to come down to 180. And I don't know if it's going to be done for the day, if it's going to turn around and start trading better after that. But currently, the 65 EMA is providing support. If we lose that, I think we go down to 180.
Okay, I've got that VWAP at 182, by the way. Let's see, UNH. I feel like we haven't looked at that in maybe a day or two here. Oracle new lows. UNH trying to bounce here, trying to stay above yesterday's closing price. Let's take a look at some of the metal stocks. Sorry, go ahead.
The UNH, man, this is just awful. And I think we looked at this last week when we got that news. If you look at a weekly chart, this thing went right up to the 50-week SMA, and then we had that the news that took it right back down, just complete rejection in that area. So I would think that this still could go lower, but I'm thinking maybe about somewhere between 250 and 260, we might get better support.
Okay. Good stuff there on UNH. PayPal. Let's see how PayPal's doing. 43 handle.
We also are getting mention of IBM, which is a great mention because, like Palantir, they receive a significant revenue from the government. And we haven't resolved that shutdown yet, that partial shutdown, right?
Right.
So, I think that's weighing on some of these stocks that get funds from the government. I guess the fear is that, what if they don't get paid, or if their payments get delayed? I think that's kind of where you're seeing weakness in maybe Palantir and IBM and perhaps some of the other names that receive government contracts.
So I would agree with you on the surface, but I actually personally would exclude Palantir. And maybe it's just recency bias. But when we talked about this yesterday, especially after reading the report about how U.S. spending is up just because the results are so good, to me it seems like this is a comment from one of our members in the happy hour yesterday. Right. They're probably going to pay that bill.
Yep.
And so I don't. You're right about the sentiment, and as Mark Petrino tells us all the time, what a stock chart is actually a representation of trader sentiment. And so I'm with you on that. I just think that the underlying fundamental, it just seems to me like if they're not going to do some stuff, Palantir is going to have its own carve out. They're gonna keep paying Palantir.
Yeah, I think that's certainly going to be the case. I don't think Palantir is going to lose any of that government revenue, but I think, just as you were saying, the sentiment, the whole idea that because of the government shutdown, some companies are not going to get paid, and that's spooking investors out of these positions. I think that's what we're seeing, is just sentiment.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm with you. Okay, good stuff there on Palantir. Looking around here, see if I see anything interesting.
TTD lost almost 80% from the high.
Well, aren't the software names just continue to get plowed? Look at TTD down here in a 20 handle. So we talked earlier about Microsoft not being able to catch a bounce. That was Jay that brought that up. Microsoft maybe break. So here, if we go back to the daily, we talked about this 425 spot not holding. Well, guess what? Didn't hold. Probably gap filling down here. 395 is what I would be looking for next. That's another 20 points from where we're at here, folks.
You know, I'm not sure where the bottom in TTD is, but I'm kind of liking this 20 to 25 area for potential support. Maybe it's not there. Maybe it's even lower, down around 15. But I'm just looking at some of these support and resistance areas, and you know, there's a lot of consolidation in that that $20 to $25 range.
Okay.
So might be an interesting spot. We'll see what we end up. I'm not going to take a position. I'm just kind of like looking at the chart and explaining my thoughts here. But
yep.
Yeah, to a 20 to 25, that looks interesting. We'll see what happens down there.
So really quickly, Lion saying, I may start buying TTD. Lion, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not trying to pick a fight with you, but weren't you buying this in the 40 handle when it came in last time? So are we adding to that position? What are we doing here? Graph saying, does TTD really belong where it is? Graph, that's the $64,000 question, right? I mean, the software name's clearly out of favor here. This thing's been in a massive downtrend. Is it worth more than this? I don't know the answer to that, to be quite honest with you. I don't feel great about this. A Lion here says it got to a price that you cannot ignore. So the last time you traded this, it didn't work, got out, now looking to try it again. I hope with it being, cut in half from the last time that we were talking about this, hopefully it works this time.
This one also trading into a falling wedge. Haven't really had a whole lot of reversals on the downside, but we could be approaching one pretty soon. It might be just slightly under 20 when it gets down there, and then it could reverse. So we'll see if that ends up happening. Yeah, I mean, it still looks like it could go lower, but I think that I'd be keeping a close eye on the 20 to 25 area.
Here's what I basically eyeballed based off what you were talking about. Might have got some of the numbers wrong, but
that's pretty good.
Okay. And then let's take a look here. Lion saying that this is reporting in 2 weeks. I think you're talking about this. Let's take a look and see what they have here. I have it confirmed. Indeed, I have this confirmed for February 25th after the market closes. That's going to be Wednesday. So that is 3 weeks from tomorrow. It reports in the after hours. That's TTD, the trade desk.
So going back to some of the movers real quick. GXAI kind of sideways here, still holding above, well, at my VWAP anyway. I have that at 196. Trying to get through and hold above this $2 area. Hasn't really been able to hold above that too much this morning. We get above it, and then we lose it about 5-10 minutes later. So really would like to see the price hold above 205. That seems to be where a lot of the resistance is right now. Teradyne also coming back in. It lost 270. It did go as high as the 200 EMA, but came back in about 20 minutes later. And we're trying to get some support around the 265 area now.
This almost looks like a retest of 260 on deck there. Samel says, you told me Google is much better than TTD long time ago. I am still in that camp. To me, I don't think there's really any comparison there. If I had to pick and choose which one would you want to own, it almost doesn't even matter what the chart looks like. I'd rather own Google.
FIEE, new lows.
Oh, no. Is anyone surprised? Color me shocked.
Yeah.
Color me shocked. Speaking of Google, actually just saw some options come across the wire here. So Google, this pulled back. It basically looks like what, 341 supporting that here. We'll see on Google.
Yeah,
AGQ trying to trade back up 178 now. So that silver ETF trying to go.
I don't know where this is going to end up running to. Maybe the earnings will bring us back down to earth and Google briefly, but we are pretty extended away from moving averages, and I think that's going to set us up for a good brief short. at the current price, we are almost 16% away from the 20-day SMA. So, and we're very extended. We're over 80 RSI. I get the sense that we could maybe push up a little bit more tomorrow, since earnings isn't until the after hours tomorrow. But I feel like we're going to see some pullback or some corrective move following the earnings. Maybe we do, punch, through 360, and then the following day we sell off. But we're getting so extended that I have to think that we're going to see some mean reversion.
So this is an interesting question here, and I'd be curious for more people's input on this. James here is asking, curious to see people's opinions. Do you think Palantir or IBM has more government contract money-wise, or taking over the military contracts? So really quickly, I basically just plugged this into Google. Use your favorite large language model. This is the AI answer here. One of the things that the comparison draws is that Palantir receives 54% of its revenue from government contribution. IBM, while it is significant, it's actually unspecified. But one of the other things that's interesting here is that IBM clearly has slower growth on this, whereas Palantir is growing at a 50% plus clip. So, James, if anyone else has any raw numbers on this that they'd like to share with the group, I'd like to know. To me, it seems like we're currently in a process where Palantir is taking from everybody else, and that everybody else would include IBM.
I mean, the company's spending over $6 billion a year in dividends. I mean, you're comparing a growth stock versus a value stock.
Yeah. That's the other thing here. So I mean, and then here's the one more thing to add here on IBM. And this, again, this is not my initial chart here. This is courtesy of a happy hour member who does really, really great charting. It outlined this pattern here in IBM, and I think that this is notable because this pattern, at least on my chart, goes all the way back to 1997. Where we have these up moves and then a prolonged retracement to the downside, followed by a steep up channel, prolonged retracement to the downside, followed by a steep up channel. Folks, we are at a decision point here if this pattern is going to hold.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's IBM because they've been the government's
been doing it for so long.
For so long, exactly. The government's been entrenched in the x86 architecture for so long that I think that kind of is bodes really well for companies like IBM and Microsoft. So I think with just with that angle, there's so much so many systems that are built upon that they can't get quickly get away from that, and they're going to need to continue to be on that for a very long time, and that's where I think IBM is safer.
Okay, they
dropped the ball decades ago, because I don't know if you're referring to AI, but it seems like they've been on AI for a very long time, and it just hasn't really gone anywhere. But James, it seems like you have dug into IBM well more than I have. So keep it coming. Keep the information coming. I love it.
GXAI here looks like it's still running into that same resistance area. 220 seems to be the day high and the actual resistance although that entire area seems to be resistance. What do you got?
We did get that 221 print now. We finally got it. So Daniel,
there we go.
It's actually 221 is the high now today. That was some crazy clairvoyance there, Daniel. How did
it was me. Daniel typed it correctly. My dumbass read it wrong and made him look like a liar. And now the circle is complete. So at least we'll take that. Dennis here asking, what is the news that's driving the market lower? I'm not sure that it's just one thing. First of all, if I go back to the chart tool here, and we start, Dennis, I'm not sure if you were here when we first started the show, but I always cover the SPY chart first. And let me zoom in. This is a monthly. That's not what we need. Let me zoom into the daily here and show you what we were kind of facing into today. And 13, I don't know if you noticed this, but do you have this candle on the SPY on your broker as well?
On my broker. Oh, look, I
'Cause-
noticed that yesterday as well.
Yeah, everyone did. And I noticed on FinTwit, people were pissed because their charting here was completely butchered from this whole thing. Anyway, Dennis, getting back to where I was at here, I'm sorry that this volume profile is overlapping. This is what we were looking at, right? We kind of had this top trend line that has connected all of the all-time highs that we have recently set. And no matter what the news is, whether it's good corporate earnings or a trade deal or some macro news that the market likes, we simply have not had the strength to bust above this area. So today, again, we kind of just didn't really have that strength. And it looks to me like the market is just kind of paring back. Like if we look inside here at the SPY, and yeah, I knew that was going to happen. Let me reset this here. If we look, oh, good Lord. It's because of this stupid candle from yesterday. It is completely messing up everything that is going on here. All right. Go ahead, 13. It take me forever to get this damn chart fixed.
I don't see that candle on my broker, but I just switched to an hourly chart to kind of see what this looks like. It's kind of interesting to see the SPY almost repeating what it did last week, running up into this 698 area, and then we just are met with a massive red candle. That happened on January 29th. It's looking quite similar to the lead up into that drop. If you look at an hourly over the past couple of weeks. Yeah, see that there? We have just kind of went sideways and then a massive drop that took us down to the 684 area. And then we kind of went sideways, recovered, topped out around the 698, and then we have this huge drop again.
So to me, it almost seems like we just didn't really have the strength required to go higher here. And as a result, the market's like, okay, well, if we're not going to go higher, maybe we'll test some of these areas lower. Now, really quick, as I had mentioned, Fed Barkin is speaking here today. A world of no, and I'm just going to read you a couple of the quotes here. I'm not sure if this is what's actually leading to it, but just so you're aware, Fed's Barkin says a world of no job growth is uncomfortable, even if employment rate stays low. U.S. economic data for the last month and a half has been encouraging on the demand side, employment and inflation, but it's still an open question about when inflation will fall to the 2% target. He goes on to say he is concerned about risks to employment and inflation. The Fed policy rate is now higher at the higher end of estimates of neutral. Here's overwhelmingly from companies that demand is fine, not frothy. So to me, that wouldn't even represent a move down here. He goes on to say the Fed is facing a different question now with inflation above target that the Greenspan-led Fed did in the 1990s. Productivity is coming not just from artificial intelligence, but from companies wanting to limit hiring. Adapting to past labor shortages does not know Warsh well, but the Fed chair nominee seems capable and charismatic, very friendly to the notion that inflation might come down, but he's actually looking to see it. So the big thing that we got here was going to be the big thing that could really kind of apply to the market were Fed Barkin's comments. I'll be honest with you, I don't really see anything in there that would cause the market to drive down on that. So to circle back to the original question here, what is the news today? To me, it just seems like, well, we didn't have the strength to move higher. I understand that Palantir reported great earnings, but even that is paring back some of its gains below its expected move now. And we're still kind of unsure what's going on in the metals market here. So to me, I'm not sure that there is one headline responsible for this movement.
I like that comment, no government job growth, which is, if you've been following the events of the past couple of years, you know that there have been a lot of government jobs that have been slashed for very good reasons.
Yeah. And really quickly here, Steve, I think this is a really interesting question here. I'm not sure if you all mentioned it. I did a deep dive into the Epstein files last night, and I was thinking, do you guys foresee any corporate fallout or stock movement from these CEOs and people in the files? So I had actually thought about this. I didn't have anything conclusive on this, and I didn't think that, obviously, with the explosiveness of this topic, if you will, and how it's playing out, frankly. I didn't necessarily want to bring this up for discussion, but since you mentioned it, here's what I would say about this. I'm not sure that I would really kind of take a bet on any of this stuff too early on. In other words, if something comes out that is clearly damaging to a CEO that is in his current role, which I think is another problem here, and you might want to wait for that stock to confirm that movement before playing that. To me, it almost seems like you've got other things out there that are probably better drivers of stock price movement than some of that stuff that's going on in that world. Nonetheless, it's quite possible that you come across a individual situation where maybe there is a move on that. I don't have any ideas for you. I would say that if you want to discuss those ideas, that would be okay. Please keep it focused on stocks and keep it clean here. We're not trying to argue about that stuff. We're trying to find ideas to make money. And you might have one here. So I'm open to that, but let's just be respectful. That's all I would say.
Yeah, and I think that I don't know if this is what you're getting at, but we have seen Microsoft been trading lower with all of this information coming out about how Bill Gates has been involved with Epstein. So I'm just going to put it out there. I don't think that we're seeing the selling as a result of that.
Me too. I would agree with 13.
I don't think that's the case. Now, if he were in that current role, it would be a much bigger acceleration to the downside, because it could mean the company is going to remove the CEO or reprimand him in some way, or something's going to happen. But seeing as he's, I think he's just a shareholder at this point, I don't think that's going to really have a material impact on.
He may still be a board member too. I would have to double check that though.
Yeah.
Anyway, there you go, Steve. That's the best I got for you on that. Really quick here, Michael is asking, can you guys take a look at which is Unity software? And of course, that Unity, that's from the Chappelle show there. Look at like it's gotten oversold in the near term. So I'd be happy to do that. 13, I'd love to get your opinion on this chart. Let me pull it up on the big chart here. Here's what I got for Unity. Let me just get off the hourly here. I see exactly why this is being asked about here. All right. Gigantic move down here. Where's the support? This is going to be one of those where it's moved so far, so fast. Does it look like it might bounce off this 500? Yeah, sure. But maybe it would have tried that at the 200, which is the dark blue line there. It cut right through that like butter. So as far as this goes, I would actually want this to turn around and confirm that bottom is done. But 13, I would ask you for your opinion. Do you see anything here on the chart that you like?
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if this found a support area very soon.
25 is what I've got marked off here, and this is a long-standing level. So
it's very oversold. I mean, we're at sub 19 RSI. That's very low. Looks to me like I kind of see your 25 area. I'm thinking 24 might be the better spot, but even lower than that, 20. This whole area between 20 and 22 looks like it's got a lot of consolidation in it that could amount to a decent demand zone. So I guess I would kind of put my range in there, somewhere between 20 and 24, with a midline of 22. That's about where I think that we could start to see some support. We could still fall a little bit further from here, but that range that I mentioned, that's where I think a lot of the support's going to kick in.
Okay.
But yeah,
good stuff there.
This thing is just massively oversold. Not that it couldn't go lower, but those are the areas of support that I see.
Okay, and actually, you've got a good comment here. Anne Marie thinks so as well.
Oh, excellent.
So that's always a good sign.
Yeah,
that's always a good sign.
Yes, I'm not asking her to agree with me, but when she does, I love it because I think she's smarter than I am. Anyway, so yeah, Unity 2024. I like that area. I was looking at another one, Sidus Space, because somebody was mentioning it, but they were looking at it and they kind of liked it. Now, this is a company that it is very, very small. One of the space names. It's been getting a lot of attention lately because of the space theme. But this is one that is going to be. They already have a business where they send up constellation satellites called LizzieSats. And they have a deal with a company called Lone Star to build a data center on the moon. I haven't looked at this to really get an idea of when that's supposed to happen. But this is going to be one of those companies where when that space theme picks back up, And we're already looking at data centers in space. I mean, a lot of the countries want to start doing that, including China. So I think there's going to be a demand and competition for outer space in that capacity. We're going to see a lot of things go up into space soon. We have the Artemis 2 getting tested. That's going to be launching probably this month to go take a trip around the moon. We have SpaceX launching later on, I think this month as well, for their was it the 12th test flight of their new Block 3 configuration for Starship. I mean, it's the space theme is not done. We're just getting, this is just a cooling off period. We're still going to see a lot of great things get launched into space. It's the new frontier, folks.
And now you got XAI merging with SpaceX. Though I just reported news on that this morning about how it's very clear they're going to try to do the data center in space there, as it solves a number of logistical problems. I'm still not sure how they're going to build it all up there, but that's neither here nor there. We'll see how that ends up shaking out.
Yeah. I don't think it's so much building up there as it is just launching it. That's one of the great things about Starship, is that they can take up so much capacity in one launch. Like, let me put it to you in this context. The International Space Station took over 10 years and numerous launches to get up into space. Starship can get that same capacity that it currently is right now, the ISS. It can get that same capacity into space in just 2 launches. That's massive. I think when you look at the numbers side by side and understand like the time frame we're talking about getting that kind of payload into space, it's insane. So I think once we really get Starship commercially operable, that's going to really be a big game changer for a lot of these different space companies. Sidus Space with their Lizzie Sats, not the Glizzy Sats. I saw that. The Lizzie Sats. Those will likely still be launched on smaller launch vehicles like the Falcon 9 or Rocket Lab's Electron. So those aren't as as large payloads as some of this other stuff that Starship's being designed for.
Okay. All right, 13. We're running out of time here. We've got Anne-Marie in a couple of minutes. Let's do a very quick wrap up here. We don't have a whole lot to wrap, so I would imagine we could do this pretty quickly. We'll start with Fat N here, which is Fat Pipe. This one kind of a fat disappointment to carry the theme forward here. We had this nice move in the pre-market. We had some pretty well-defined levels and a target above if we ended up curling. We didn't do that. We traded back down here to the 200 EMA. So looking at this, we're maybe 4 cents above it. It looked like we tried to curl, but really didn't have a whole lot of strength. I would want to see some volume continue to flow into this name if it's going to curl around. What do you think, 13?
So, yeah, the N in Fat N stands for no.
That's
basically,
right.
And basically what's happened with this one is that we did get a decent move up initially out of the gate that tried to recapture the 65 EMA, but that failed. And now that it's taken us down beneath $3, where we're trying to recapture right now, that makes it even tougher for the upside in this. And I think that, and there's some sellers in the way at $2.96 and $3 that we're going to need to see a lot more volume in order to get through those guys. So that's going to be number one. We need to see more volume increase here with that, and we need to see a recapture of that 65 EMA if we are going to go higher at all. But if we can't do that, then this could end up giving everything back and going under the 200-day SMA, 200 EMA on the 5-minute again.
Okay, next one here is going to be NPT. I wish the ticker was actually NTP because I could summarize this very easily. No trades, please. But unfortunately, it's NPT. This thing did nothing here today. A big China pump and dump, rocketed higher, came all the way back in, done nothing, unable to get above its VWAP. Watch it if you must. This one to me is a no touch.
Our VWAPs can sometimes be a little different. This one's above my VWAP, but it's still having trouble with this 850 area.
Yep.
I think that's going to be the spot to keep an eye on. If this manages to recapture 850 and can hold above it, it could possibly go higher, maybe see $10. But look at the volume. I think that's going to tell you a lot of the story about this. And if it doesn't increase to get higher, higher print, then this is, like Ryan said, probably something you're going to just want to avoid.
Okay, and the next one here, winner, chicken dinner, GXAI. We actually did have a pretty good mover here. I will say that the trade, you guys were all over this. The trade plan worked out well here. And look, this is what we see quite a bit, right? We curled here. There were a number of good calls from the group here. We went right to the 218, 220-ish resistance area, backed off, got support at VWAP, then took it out on the second attempt. Notice here, 13 and I just spent time talking about the volume. Notice that on the stock that we actually got that move to new highs, we still had the elevated volume. And these are the types of things that we're looking for in some of these day trades. This, maybe it's not over. I wouldn't chase the green candles up. I would instead wait for a support level if you're going to try trading it.
And to that point, if you would just do me a favor of going to a daily chart real quick.
Absolutely.
You can look at what happened back in August, where we had a very similar price action that ran up to 296, not too far away from some of the areas we were looking at today. And we ended up selling off the following day. So we could certainly see something like that happen again tomorrow. Just keep that in mind. And make sure that you're paying yourself on the way up with these trades. I do not know that GXAI is going to hold up here. We've already seen that it won't. The following day.
Okay, 13, really good stuff here today. Any closing words for the group?
Hey, not a whole long list of things that we could trade today, but we found them and we made some money. So hey, that's always a good sign. But don't force trades, folks. Make sure you keep your capital available so that we can come back here and do this again tomorrow, make some more money, and we'll have a good time then. So until then, folks, have a great rest of your day. Have a great time with Anne-Marie. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.
All right. In honor of Daniel, who did a great job here today and whose comment I screwed up and who is French, au revoir, 13. We will see you next time. I'll see you later today. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care of yourself. Really good job as always. All right. 13's departure leaves room for the one and only Anne-Marie. Let's check in with her. Anne-Marie, how you doing?
How are you doing?
Great. I am loaded up on coffee. I've got a bunch of tea. Pro tip, Anne-Marie, tea in the morning that has cinnamon in it adds like another dimension to the morning. That's what's going on with me. So I'm doing great here today.
That's awesome. Cinnamon is one of those great antioxidants.
That's
very, very good.
Not surprising. All right. What do you got for us today?
Well, in going with our post-earnings theme, we've got all kinds of things to look at. I thought I'd go backwards a little bit in time and maybe 3-4 days of earnings to see what's been going on, to see where Apple is, and put up a few trades. I'm looking at Apple, MasterCard, Visa, Caterpillar, Exxon, some of those that I've posted to see what we can do about setting up a trade and getting folks a little bit more familiar with how we work these earnings formations. And so we're going to start looking at Apple. It's on the week. Our earnings candles are lit up. This is a weekly candle. This is a daily candle. Notice the doji. The thought process is the following. If we see, and here we go, if we see price action break up and over that earnings high space, it gives us trajectory up into the next zone. So a couple of things going on. We want to look at trend. It's up. It looked like we had a little bit of a mean reversion event. Very interestingly, this red vertical line told us that the earnings period would potentially give us an inflection zone. And so seasonality gave us that run up. Now, the next seasonality event, regrettably, shows us a little bit of fade action into about early March and then the move up. So something that I've talked about a little bit, but I'm not quite sure that you and I have talked about, is when the buyback period opens back up. So we have two things happening. We have these big earnings events that are coming through. And then because of the earnings, there's a quiet period where companies are not allowed to buy back their own stock. That's called the buyback window. It shuts and then it opens. Well, we've been talking about the second week in February giving us this little bounce. Guess when the window opens back up?
Second week in February?
You got it. You got it. And so we've got a little bit of liquidity that's got a likelihood of running into the market into the end of Feb. But between now and the end of Feb, we're going to have sideways motion. And so if you're looking for a longer move for Apple, you want to go further out in time to take advantage of that potential lift. But if you're looking for a quick strike trade, here's what I have taking a look at Apple. So big thing, it moved into the prior earnings candle. So the thought process is if it moves into the prior earnings candle, it's going to go to the top of the earnings candle if trend is up. Trend is up on the weekly. It's not so much up on the daily. It's a little bit mixed, but we still see clear resistance up here at $278. That we want to put an alert there because that's going to tell us that a decision zone is on the horizon. So they're either going to try to break and then fade, or try to break, pull back to a higher low, and then move to the north. At this juncture, we're sitting right at about that halfway measure. My suspicion is it pulls back and then moves forward. So what do we do when we have a sideways formation? Well, if you're thinking about the way the chart's moving right now and you go, all right, what's my trend? It's up. I just had some weakness. That's where we would buy into strength. So this is a sideways formation. All I have for you here is an iron condor. If you're looking for something that sits towards the end of Feb or even in March. So we expect the inflection to begin in March, but this is where I expect us to stop. So 280 is that top of the edge. So we're going to look at 290 to 300. And we're going to look at, my brain, 245. 245 to 235. Now, it gives us just the minimum that we like to have for an iron condor that is $2 wide. If you're thinking to yourself, wait a second, why don't I see if I can take advantage of what I think might be a little bit of a downward flow back into the base of support where the breakout was at 260? Can I find a trade there? And so here is that trade. You want to use the 20th of February. If you're looking at the space, you can go 260 to 250 to 240. So you might say, gosh, Anne-Marie, that's kind of expensive. Well, it is what it is because we are right here near that edge of 260. And if it continues to fade, it's going to give us a nice run and it'll immediately start making money for us. If you're thinking to yourself, well, what if I make 260? Maybe I make 255 my trade. And so you can do 255 to 250 to 245, but that 250 could easily get breached. Just saying, it might not because it's got trend holding it, but it is a lot cheaper and you want it's a quarter, right? So $25 for a $500 spread. It's on the put side. You could say, you know what, that's my little YOLO trade for this range. I'm going to go ahead and see how that goes. Gives me a little pullback. At the moment it comes back into that range, you want to look on the long side to take you back up into the center of the formation, because that's what I think that we're seeing. All right, let's take a look at MasterCard.
Okay.
So MasterCard is largely European in its base. It's had, look at this noise. Pardon me, I've got some kind of crud that's attacked me from somewhere, so I'm trying to get over it.
Cinnamon tea, baby, cinnamon tea.
All right. So we've got a very large area of inventory accumulation. Very sideways. Notice, if you'd been holding on to MasterCard since the beginning of 2025, You are literally nowhere. Up,
Nothing.
next candlestick of earnings, next candlestick of earnings, and here's the candlestick of earnings in that range. So in my mind, this is landlocked. Now, it's got pretty good negative seasonality. The dip here is pretty aggressive into the edge of March, at which point it begins to lift. So the question is, if it fades, where's it headed? My thought is it's going to head into 520, 515. If it lifts and goes to the top of the edge, also, where could it go? My thought is 575, maybe, 575 to 585. So we've got two prongs, and we literally could use February as our expiration. But again, it doesn't give us a lot of time to let it move through the motions. And so what we are looking for is, let's see where the traders are sitting, 520 to 510 to 500. That's actually a credit. Now, for those of us who know the game, when we go in and we try to put this order in, our broker's going to go, I ain't giving you no credit.
I'm not paying you to have an open position.
Exactly.
No, get out of here.
Even though I'm making commissions, I don't care. So try to put it in for a penny. See if you can get it, right? So talk about...
You ever been filled at one of those for a penny, by the way?
I have.
Okay, so it's
I
possible.
have.
So okay, that's
It's
I never have. That's amazing.
So we have that on the fade into Feb. And then if it gets a kickstart and moves upward, we've got that 570 to 580 to 590. Now, that one's much more expensive. The spreads are really wide here. It tells me the traders really don't think this chart's got upward drift. Not to this level. So if you get filled on the put side coming into this area, I would not enter this trade unless I could get it for 70 cents or less. I'll let you know if that one fills.
Okay.
I'm going to try and take both of these just for example's sake. Very sideways. If you want to, if you are like me and you say, hey, just give me a spread that I can trade. Well, look at that, 800 up here at 420. So we can go down here to that same 520, 510, and $570, $580, and it gives us almost half the size of the spread. So if nothing happens, you collect cash, and as long as it doesn't drift past 580 on the upside or below 520 on the downside, drift above 570, excuse me, on the upside, 520 on the downside, you collect the full credit. And if it moves into these edges, if these are cheap and you get them like that, they're going to make you some money on both sides. That one looks also usable. So the next one I have is Caterpillar. Now this one, pretty interesting because we know that this last earnings event, it just shot the moon, right? The data center play, everybody's all super excited. What did it do here? It's continuing its motion to the upside. So to me, this is a pretty big move that says, you guys can talk all you want, but this data center action probably going to do a pretty good job of still giving inventory. 416 estimate, 467 estimate, 516 actual. So, and they must have guided well because they are certainly moving. Industrials really on the rise. So what's the trade here? Clearly upside pressure, trend upward. Absolutely upward on the weekly, upward on the daily, big move up. Momentum gives us a little bit of sideways pressure, but a test higher is certainly what we can expect in a little bit of price action to the north. So I just forgot what the price was, 706. So let's go to March and let's see if the option traders are telling us anything about price action. That long is already in the money. The action event is already in the money. So a couple of things here. This one, we could do the following. Note to self, when we have a formation that's this close to the price action space, we spend a little bit more, but we have $2,000 of upside for $1.65. If you're saying to yourself, well, gosh, that puts me, I don't want to spend that. Totally up to you. Totally up to you. Here's my thought. If you want to go in a little bit further away, you can do 710 to 720 to 730. That's 50 cents. It's going to give you cheap entry, $1,000 of upside for $50 of risk. What you have to keep your eye on is how fast it moves, because notice it's up $13 today. And so the motion is fairly aggressive. That's why I prefer making the butterfly wider than that. If you're saying, well, if I have to pay $1.65 to get involved in this trade, is there an iron condor I could participate in that might give me some returns? And I would say yes. It's the 760, 770. Let me double check here. 6. And the 610 to 600. Again, $3.50 of a credit allows you to play in this space. What do you want to do? You want to make sure that your alerts are set up for the breach of the short strikes, so you know when to pull the ripcord on this particular trade. But it is a very nice trade. Here's my thought from a broad action perspective. Let's just look at the SPY really quickly. So what we're staring down in the SPY is a massively sideways structure. Just look at how many weeks we've had in this area. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 of the last 15 weeks. We have either opened or closed inside the range of 678 to 695. What is that telling you? It tells you that big money is waiting for a shoe to drop. So how are they doing that in the option chains? They are hedging with puts way, way, way out of the money. They're going long the equities into earnings and hedging the big index. And so it's not a flat out bullish event. It's certainly not something that's openly bearish, but they are clearly saying, listen, it's not clear sailing ahead. We've got to close this loop. So this is why my suppositions for so many of these trades give us tight, swift motion that we can get off into our accounts and then pull them right back out. So you're looking for 70, 80%. And listen, little bits can really add up. They really, really can. Don't swing for the fences. And we really haven't seen too many fat pitches, really. Not too many fat pitches at all. All right. Next one, Exxon. They reported a few days ago. This chart is in a breakout space. Those of you who follow me, you know I'm really very long energy in terms of a mindset. I believe energy is really where it's at. This has broken out of a massive sideways structure. Literally, folks, 2022 is when this thing entered this box of accumulation. And so now it's moving all the way up here. My thought is a couple of ways you can trade this. Now, I like what's going on in here. Are we sitting in the middle of the earnings candle? That's the only thing for consideration. We go, well, yeah, it kind of is. We want to see it get outside of that earnings candle to take the trade. Trend is up on both areas. So we know we're going to have a dip buying environment more than likely. So how do we want to look at this? I like the breakaway formation off of 125. We're very far away from that. So what can we do? For me, I like to look at this from a long-term perspective. Let's say we've got ourselves some super noisy garbage where this thing holds its own and then, ooh, LRCX. That just moved to a high implied vol. We'll take a peek at that just out of the blue since it came up. All right. So let's think about, what do we want this to do? We want it to make money. So what do we anticipate? Upward price action. Very simply, we can sell. Whoa, that's not giving us any premium. We could sell. We don't want to do that. Not unless you intend to buy Exxon, and then you could sell the put out in September, October if it comes in, but I would leave that alone. Okay. These spreads are, because the implied vol is very, very light. So let's think about where this chart could go. If we measure the move, we just do a Fibonacci, and we take high to low. That's the low of this one, the high of this one. The 200 spot is 150. That's easy, right? That big fat round number. And the 300 spot is 180. So what do you want to do? This is a longer term trade. You go into December and you can say 150. Let's do where the traders are. Let's go to 155. That's where the chains are. No, 150 is a good one, but we'll use 155 and we'll go to 170. We'll keep it $15 wide, and then we'll go from 170 to 185. $2.21 for a $15 spread. So $1,500 for $200 in the space. If you're thinking to yourself, that's not me, I'm not that kind of trader, then easily you can look at the edge and say to yourself, you know, maybe I take a long event into the end of March. Look where the traders are sitting. At that 150 mark, you can go 150 to 160. That's $1.33, $1.31. You get yourself a move. Hopefully it holds. Seasonality tells us that it should, but there's a pretty big wiggle room event that comes in general. This is probably where they do their, when they give their end of season stock incentives to their employees, their high value employees. That's what happens here. That's why if anybody's ever gotten restricted stock, you always laugh because you always get it just before the price goes down. And that's because people know that that is actually going to happen. So I would not choose that one. For me, I'd be much more inclined to sell a short put or, build another iron condor in the space. That's what I would do from Exxon perspective. I would wait for a little bit there. Just for grins, let's see how next.
LRCX? Oh,
Yes,
okay.
I'll go to LRCX. But as many of you know, the setup said go short Netflix. So I want to show you from a hindsight perspective why the setup that I'm trying to share with everyone works time after time after time. Fourth day, right? 1, 2, 3. We were underneath the earnings candle. The fourth day it touched the candle. That's the day you go short. That the open of that day, if it opens and you go right through the top, you stop out at 90. No ifs, ands, or buts. That's just how it works. Instead, trend down on the daily and the weekly. So the bounce should give you a sell zone. That short is still in play. Looks really great. Looking for 78 as the target. I just wanted to share with everybody when you get a nice clean setup, weekly down, daily down, or weekly up, daily up, and the price action follows that trend, you've got a really nice trade on the horizon with that. So we've got a big week of earnings coming up next week. Should be a really great setup. On Friday, we should have a few really nice ones to look at because of yesterday's and today's earnings.
Here it is.
Yeah, so let's take a look at what happened yesterday and today. So we've got Disney and, IDXX, their vol is always high. Disney and what else do we have?
Sorry. Did you need that again?
No, I was staring that down. Yeah, it's okay. We had Marathon, PayPal. Ooh, I wonder how
PayPal is let's do that because PayPal is getting absolutely destroyed today. Yeah. I said earlier, taken to the woodshed Fargo style, if you get that. But in any case, I mean, it's bloody.
Dude, that movie was so good.
I know.
My husband is like, how can you even watch something like that? I'm like, listen, Frances McDormand is amazing.
Yeah, she's really good. The Coen brothers are amazing. Frances McDormand outdoes herself in Burn After Reading, by the way.
Oh my gosh. So
that is
funny.
A cult classic. That is a cult classic. Not a lot of people know about that movie.
That is the funniest I've ever seen Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
I mean, hilarious. Okay, so
John
yes.
Malkovich. I mean, okay.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Great. Love that movie. It's so good. All right. Sorry, folks. Brian and I were nerding out.
This is what we do.
On our movie memorabilia. Okay, so this does look really bad. Really bad.
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay, so let's take a peek at the last time. This was a breakout area in 2016, and they are now testing it. And interestingly enough, have a gander at this. 10 years ago to the week of this earnings formation, take a look at these. Earnings, all trapped in the box.
Mm-hmm.
The earnings that broke us out are here. So my suspicion is we sit at 38. There's probably a buy floating around here. And if not, trouble, because the next earnings event down there is at 30. That's the next earnings event to the left. And so what to do here? This is very interesting. So they reported what, this morning?
Yep.
Yeah. And so as we stare this down, what is trend Trend and momentum in the same direction. Whoa. Wow. This looks absolutely horrific. Well, the bounces are definitely sell zones, that's for sure. But we probably need to test somewhere inside here, the big fat round number of 50. That's going to be the sweet spot for short action. And so if you're thinking, how do I get involved here? This isn't quite the right time. The test up at 43 could also give us a good shot. Or you say to yourself, you know, I'm just going to go all the way out and I'm going to let it leak. And I'm going to take a put way out of the money and see if this thing just falls apart. So 32, look at this. Somebody put $3,100. I mean, 3,100 in volume today. 3,100 in volume. So that's pretty big. It's expensive. And I am really surprised these guys are taking the gigantic fade that they are, mostly because these guys are really in the cabal, if you know what I'm saying here, because there's all kinds of crazy action that PayPal is a part of that's behind the curtain. So, tinfoil hat moment. Sorry.
It's okay.
So I think look, I think somebody's got themselves a straddle or a strangle, excuse me. Here's the 83 at 60, way too big. I think they might be short. Short the 60 and short the 40s. Let's look at this one on Friday.
Okay.
That'll give us enough time to see, you know, what the heck it does. If you want to chase it down, you can. There's a lot of buying pressure that could come up since, you know, 10 years ago, literally to the trading week, 10 years ago, we were sitting at the spot. Yeah. So if you're thinking to yourself, you know, I'm going to do a YOLO, then go here and buy the 50 calls like somebody else did today. Buy the 50 calls at 15 cents.
Okay. All right, Anne-Marie, we are over by a couple of minutes.
Oh,
really good
sorry.
stuff here. Nope, it's okay. We got nothing behind us. So we were able to finish that off. Really good stuff here today. As you mentioned, we will check back in on PayPal on Friday. You're good for Friday, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, fantastic. We'll have some more option trading ideas for you. Anne-Marie, thanks a million as always. Have a good one.
Take care. You too. Thanks, everybody.
All right, that is Anne-Marie Band. Remember, you can find her in her own options trading room in Benzinga Pro. Be sure to scan that QR code. Folks, thanks for joining us here today. Another good day here this week. We've got more earnings coming later this week. We'll be here to cover all of that stuff. Stay green, stay safe, stay focused. Have a